Rise and fight.
It's that time again. We're back with some more BSL action, and with me this time around is the one and only Diggity. What's up, dude?
Man, I am so excited for this. We've got BSL Season 14 semifinal. On one side, we got a repeat of the BSL Season 13 semifinal match between Mihu and Ziki, where Ziki actually fell 3-0. We'll see if he's improved his game. We've got Zhanhun versus Dewalt, which I remember actually when we were playing both of those matches, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised to see either Zhanhun rematching Mihu in the final or Dewalt rematching Ziki in the final. And now on both sides, we have, it almost feels like the push through the rivals to get, so you have Mihu and Zhanhun, the two best players from China, looking to basically declare, I am the best foreigner, period, out there. Mihu looking to repeat in the BSL. You have Ziki, who wants to be the first Zerg champion. What was it, BSL 7, where True Touch took it? And Dewalt hasn't had a championship since BSL 3. He wants another shot at Mihu for sure, because he was extremely frustrated in the finals last season. But today, we get to set the table for the grand finals tomorrow, which is also Zero's birthday. So it's like great news all the way around. And I'm expecting some really, really fun matches.
Yeah, I don't know which series I like the most. You know, I'm a Terran player, but I gotta say Zhanhun's PvP games were quite exciting, which is rare for me in PvP. And the fact that he's going up against Dewalt, you know, I've been a Dewalt fan for like 8 seasons now. Every single season, I'm like, he's going the distance, dude. And it just, I mean, he makes it to the final sometimes. But actually, I may favorite Zhanhun a little bit. Don't tell anybody. Because his PvP is so strong.
His PvP is extremely strong. Dewalt, many other BSLs got dropped by Bonneth. And Bonneth just dropped to Zhanhun, and honestly, Zhanhun is very convincing in all of those matches. But honestly, both Zhanhun and Mihu remind me a bit of, I know they are calling him Flash, Mihu like Mini Flash in China, but what it really reminds me of almost is the I Love UV revolution, where it was kind of like the cheater Terran, and I guess for Zhanhun's side, cheater toss, where they just have brutally strong macro. Zhanhun in particular, he lost some minor battles against Zhanhun, or Zhanhun lost some minor battles against Bonneth. But Bonneth ended up losing the war because Zhanhun's macro was just so strong. And we've seen Mihu's macro on the opposite side just be obliterative. He just absolutely decimates with his macro. So we'll see whether, actually, I got to say, in both series, I think I'm favoring the Chinese players, but I do think both Ziki and Dewalt are capable of winning on both sides at the same time.
Yeah, I think Team Europe could definitely win here, but I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for Ziki. And I say that simply because we saw Mihu versus Ziki in the round of 4 last season, and it was just not close. The one game that stood out, I can't remember the exact map, but what I do remember is Mihu literally sat outside Ziki's base the entire game, just built vessels nonstop and got irradiated to death. Like, he literally never got outside of his natural the whole game. And Mihu, I mean, we already know he's a beast PvP, but the fact that you can sit and just completely outclass the best Zerg player in Europe, I mean, this guy, he's looking like potentially he could get to the finals again and definitely take down a championship. This is going to be very exciting. I am so excited to see what Zhanhun brings in particular, just because of how easily he killed killed Bonneth. Oh, we're gonna have a cast by Via Rev and Jumper.
Oh, not sure if that's on screen intentionally or not, but yeah, Zhanhun, I'm interested to see what Dewalt pulls out, because I feel like Dewalt is more of a macro-based player, but so is Zhanhun. And honestly, between the two, having seen them, that this is I know that Dewalt feels like PvP is his weakest matchup, but he's still extremely strong versus Protoss. But between the two, I do feel like Zhanhun's macro has just been a little bit stronger. So I'm wondering if Dewalt if he's just going to try to go for that heads-up macro play. And that's the other thing from Zhanhun. We saw a variety of build orders. Some risky, some that could have been punished by potentially Dark Templar, others where he was fielding Dark Templar himself versus Bonnet. So he's got the entire toolbox, it looks like. And yeah, I think it's going to be ferocious. I think it's going to be one of those, these could be very long, very, I'm not sure what to call it, very tense PvPs for a protracted period of time, where we see guys just picking the little battles, trying to get the edge, trying to macro forward. And it almost feels like it's going to be that growing, like what I'm kind of expecting is kind of that growing wildfire on both sides. And then it's kind of like who overtakes who.
Yeah, and we're getting a look at the profiles. We see absurd win rates from Dewalt. He's been playing basically every single season. You can see in season 13 and 10, he got second place, but 12 and 11, specifically 12, not so hot. I mean, he's just all over the place a lot of the time. But meanwhile, Zhanhun, this is his first appearance in BSL, so to make it into the round of 4 in your first go-around, that's quite a feat. And I noticed a comment earlier before the stream started from Bobo, and he was saying Dewalt and Zhanhun went 5 and 5. I can't remember the year, whether it was last year or 2020. So seems like this could be a very, very even matchup, neither player getting the lead out of those 10 games. But yeah, Dewalt, he seemed to always have an Achilles heel versus Bonnet. But now with Bonnet out of the way, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the time where he can get through our other Protoss player in Zhanhun. But as we stated before, Zhanhun, he's just so good at it. He outplayed Bonnet in micro and in macro, which is no easy feat, especially in micro. And our players are ready. It's time to get into game 1. It's Eclipse, Dewalt versus Zhanhun. Okay, in the top right, our European Protoss player, it is Dewalt.
In the bottom left-hand corner from China, we have, as the blue Protoss, Zhanhun. This match absolutely gives me chills. I got chills right now, where we're going to see that we're on Eclipse, so this means it's going to be, really this, I feel like this is one of those matches that is going to set the tempo and also set kind of the statement in the early match, because Eclipse is that map that everybody's played. It's the one that's heads up. It's the one that everybody knows. So it's as far as your head up game, as far as you playing at your standard in your most comfortable position, who is the stronger player. So we'll see what each player opts to open with. I know both these guys tend not to be more early game cheesy, but I think I'm expecting a longer macro game from both. And I'm wondering after this match, if one player or the other wins, if we're going to see any sort of adjustment in play. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know who to call on this one. It's going to be intense.
Yeah, generally we see Dewalt playing quite standard. But for those of you that have been watching the race championships, sometimes Dewalt gets a bit wild. In particular, yesterday versus Dandy, he proxied 2 gates in the center of the map and went for DTs. So this guy can pull out a bunch of shenanigans. I don't think we're going to see anything like a 1 base DT in the first game to set the tone. I think it will just be normal play, kind of evaluate your opponent, like, okay, can this guy stand up to my macro? Can this guy stand up to my micro? Do I need to adjust? Because if you can just play a straight up game and just simply overrun, I would prefer to play that rather than flip a coin and say, okay, I'm going to go DT. Hopefully this guy didn't go observer, or hopefully I avoid his observer. So I do expect to see standard play. We do see both players ended up going for the cybernetic score. No zealot just yet for either one. Zhanhun going for a quick scout though.
It looked like only 2 probes currently on gas for Zhanhun, which leads me to believe he might be trying to go for 1 gate. Looks like maybe he just tacked one on, but kind of did a little bit of a staggered delay, which I don't know. We'll see if he's thinking about an earlier nexus. Much earlier scout for Zhanhun. No scout for Dewalt, which we had seen previously, which again, I'm told from Quark can be meta, and especially when you have the additional mineral patches here, it can actually accelerate your build order. And so Zhanhun going for the lower path, detecting there weren't any proxies. He does have that probe potentially in the lines to maybe potentially go for a manor pylon. It looks like he's still trying to shove his way through to maybe do that. But this is going to give economically a Dewalt a slight advantage.
Yeah, I feel like we saw the staggered probe on the gas in the previous PvPs that we already saw. We got a Manor Pylon in the main of Dewalt. Still no range for Zhanhun, so he's evaluating whether he needs this just a double pylon wall. That's a big deal since there's no Zealot out for Dewalt at all. Goon has not the greatest DPS versus pilots. He's going to let it complete too. So he's going to cripple the econ of Dewalt, follow up with his Zealot, try and get a couple of probe kills, but I have a feeling the probes are going to take care of those 2 pylons before the Zealot gets there.
I actually really like this play. Is like, okay, if you're going to skip Zealot first and you're going to not even scout, I'm just going to go ahead and try to run up and equalize things. I'm going to get in your base. I'm going to cause disruption. So the Dragoon is going to have to micro from the back line as the Zealot is nearby. Well, no, he's going to pocket it. Interesting. That's an interesting decision from John. So Zhanhun realizing that he wasn't going to be able to get up and do any sort of disruption. The Dragoons were ready. So instead, he's going to hide it and potentially get some damage down the line. That probe. Also, that was clever. He left the probe, too, to be like, this is what I'm using to scout to see whether there's that natural expansion or not. But he finds it! So the Zealot has been spotted, very diligent on Dewalt's part, and now that Zealot is going to die. So not only did Dewalt not go for the scout and potentially get a little bit of an economic lead there, he's up 2 probes currently, which is big when you're going for a macro race, but he was able to kill that Zealot, and now Zhanhun in the mid-game is a little bit in the dark.
Yeah, I was wondering if Dewalt was going to think, that's a bit weird that you double Manor Pylon me and then didn't send a Zealot. And we see that he did suspect something was up, so he clears out that Zealot. And behind this, we do see fast robo for both players, a little bit faster for Dewalt, about 10 seconds or so. Another, I'm not sure if that's another probe that went out or if it's the same probe that got away. But we do have 3 goons from both sides. For now, Dewalt going to try and poke in with 2 goons. Now, remember, he got range first, so his range is done. When he comes in here and pokes, he may think, okay, this guy might be going DT because there's no range just yet for Zhanhun.
Zhanhun with the superior Dragoon count going ahead and press that back. Also, the numbers are pretty, do a good job of revealing some things. Looks like that probe is waiting along the corner. It's going to try to move up and get that scout now. Dewalt has opted to go for the robotics facility and the observatory before the Nexus. And now that probe wandering in, sees just a single Dragoon. There's another Dragoon holding the ramp just to make sure that Zhanhun can't sneak in and get any sort of additional information. So right now, Dewalt needs to be careful. He needs to make sure he babysits those Dragoons on the front door, because if he isn't aware and Zhanhun is able to move up once he has range, he could potentially lose those 2 Dragoons.
Yep, and now range should have kicked in for Zhanhun, so he's going to push across the map with his 5 Dragoons. It's 5 Dragoons also for Dewalt. I saw that his shuttle is done. Reaver is coming out in just a second, so he will be able to push us back.
The Observer also going cross. It looks like he's going to kind of move across midfield. That probe escapes to the north, but there's eyes on the Dragoon count. It looks like we do have a shuttle on the other side of the map as well, but that Observer is going to be able to wander in for Dewalt and confirm a lot of information here.
Yeah, now the Observer moving into position. Meanwhile, Dewalt's Nexus is about halfway done. Shuttle already done for Zhanhun, so he's going to put on some aggression with his shuttle in Reaver in just a second. Shield battery up for Dewalt, so he must be feeling a little bit of pressure. Gate's already done. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. 2-gate looks like the Observer is already finished, and honestly, at this stage, Dewalt he's got a huge economic lead. Zhanhun needs to do something, so I kind of like that shield battery. The fact, recognizing kind of the situation, recognizing that he's ahead, recognizing that he's natural expansion up way before Zhanhun does. So Zhanhun needs to get aggressive and get some damage done.
Well, this is a situation we didn't see Zhanhun have to play out of in any of the games versus Bonneth. He's the one with the later Nexus. He's the one that needs to make something happen with his Reaver. But Dewalt's got a matching unit count. He's got the matching shuttle and Reaver count. Everything seems to be in his favor, including the probe count and including, obviously, the Nexus being completed. So this is a really tough situation for Zhanhun. Maybe Zhanhun has speed advantage on his shuttle. Not sure if he has that upgraded just yet. For now, we know that it's not complete, and he is not upgrading it. But that is a open main, completely open. Absolutely no defense in the main.
And it looks like Zhanhun's going to move up with the Dragoons, potentially to pin these troops to the front, so that Reaver can get a free shot in the probe line. Is Dewalt going to see it? The 2 Dragoons into the north are making their way, it looks like, to the main. The probe scattering. This is going to buy a bit of time, but is he going to re-engage with the front, and this is a nice play from Zhanhun to get a little bit of economic disruption. And actually with that, the probe count evening, Dewalt still has the economically. The observer moving forward, Zhanhun really applying the pressure here.
Yeah, now after a move like this, I always take a look at the nat probe count and the main probe count, because you know he lost a lot. Well, that's a big issue right there. There's 8 probes in the main mining minerals. So not only did he force a full probe pull, now the saturation is really not good for Dewalt. In fact, only sending 5 more back. He's still oversaturated in the main by a lot. So this is going to be a big economic differential going into the mid game for Zhanhun. He should really start running away in terms of the resources, especially minerals, quite quickly.
Looks like there was a drone or a probe transfer. It looks like it had a bit of trouble with that. 2 Reavers are sitting on the front, and actually, critically, Zhanhun getting a small victory was able to kill that observer over the ledge at the natural expansion, which does put Dewalt in an uncomfortable position where he doesn't have as much information. He still needed to build a second Reaver in the middle of that. So just now getting that second observer out, he's still barely up in the probe count. Now going for a counterattack, is not able to pick that observer off. So that observer is going to go in vision, particularly when you want to be aggressive and engage in these sort of, it can be the X factor in PvP. It looks like speed is upgrading for Dewalt. But right now, Zhanhun controlling the mid 3 o'clock plateau, which does give him a degree of map control. It looks like he's starting to wander out, check additional areas, and maybe he wants to just control that area and maybe move towards a third. But right now, Dewalt ahead 4 probes. And this is what I was talking about. It just feels like that growing inferno behind this. We have 4 gates for both players. Citadel of Adun now coming online. It is razor thin edge, but right now, Dewalt holds just that sliver of an advantage.
Yeah, but I do like the map control that Zhanhun has right now, and I love his pylon placement, 1 at bottom middle, 1 between the bottom third and his natural, 1 at his third base, vision all over the place, so any potential drop should be scouted from a mile away, and he will be able to respond appropriately. But Zhanhun closing that supply gap. There's the Citadel, matching the Citadel timing of Dewalt. Forge even coming down too. And
this
Dewalt,
is huge.
Yeah.
Dewalt actually able to get that observer in the base to walk in and see absolutely everything on Zhanhun's side of the map. See saturation, see the Dragoon positioning, everything. That is, and with Dewalt and as intelligent as a player as he is, it looks like he's going to add a second shuttle, particularly if he decides to get aggressive and do some drops, which it looks like he is opting to do. That is going to open up a lot of potential.
Yeah, and he has 3 Reavers. He's loading up 2 of them and 2 Zealots in each, I think. So we're going to have an attempted drop on the left side of the map. He's going to take the long way around, though, and you can see that actually there is a slimmer of non-vision for Zhanhun on the very left side at his third base. So this could be the opening that Dewalt really wants to exploit. Observer confirms the pylon. He's going to be aware that, okay, hey, that shouldn't give you enough vision to the third base, but look at this probe timing. It's going to intercept the shuttles potentially.
I actually love what Dewalt's doing. He's pushing that observer forward and then allowing that shuttle to sneak in behind it to find the gap. Very diligent play. The Dragoons are responding immediately, but it is too little too late. It looks like the Reaver's going to be able to land in the probe line. They're getting a bit blockaded though. It's a huge hit on the probe line there. Gas is also getting interrupted. The Dragoon's getting taken out. Zhanhun now in flight trying to get troops back, but the main has taken a lot of damage. He's down to 36 probes to 52.
Yeah, but is he going to escape with this shuttle? The answer is going to be yes, because there's no defense at the natural. Oh my gosh, this is ballsy. He's going to suicide his Reavers to try to get some more kills, but he gets a bunch of probe kills with that hit, and he does end up taking down a Templar, so I think that was worth. Meanwhile, a fight in the center of the map, there's no shuttle there. Big misstep from Zhanhun. Not only does he lose his entire econ almost, he also loses his bread and butter, those powerful Reavers sitting in the center of the map, isolated.
Wow, Dewalt playing next level. He's like, okay, I'm sacrificing 2 Reavers here in this engagement. I'm also sacrificing a shuttle. I don't care about the Zealots. So what is Zhanhun's advantage? It was going to be that Reaver advantage. So while Zhanhun was distracted dealing with the Reavers in the natural expansion, he forced the position forward and took out Zhanhun's Reavers. Absolutely brilliant play. He still doesn't have Sidestorm though, but he's way economically ahead. Zhanhun needs to get a big attack here to sneak back in this match.
Yeah, and this may be his only chance to get back in the match. He needs to do catastrophic damage with this. He's down 20 workers, but there's only a 27 supply lead for Dewalt. So slight army advantage right now. There's a storm drop in the natural. He gets a few probes. He gets like 10 actually. So that's a big hit. Reaver was way out in front. Very dangerous position for that Reaver. But for now, Zhanhun making a stab, trying to come back in this game.
He's actually doing a great job of taxing Dewalt, so he's continually dropping slight engagements over that plateau, and whenever Dewalt's engaging there and looking to have a big micro fight, he moves that shuttle into the natural expansion immediately to follow, to really tax Dewalt's ability to multitask. But however, as this is delaying, Storm is coming online. It looks like some Zealots migrating to the north. What was Zhanhun doing? I think he might have just lost control of Zealots right there. And it looks like there's still 2 Zealots in a shuttle that might go to their natural expansion. It looks like there's plenty of Dragoons to wait. Zhanhun looked like he was positioning. He had a probe to position to maybe take his third. Dewalt's also going ahead and taking his third at the 1 o'clock position, but that plateau has been cleared. And Zhanhun's still down to the probe count. Oh, the shuttle gets wiped out. The 2 Zealots do land. This is a bit of economic disruption in pulled probes. I don't think he's going to get a lot else out of it, though.
Yeah, I think it was just to draw the units out of position, but Dewalt seems to be a little bit slow on the gun to get into a dominating position. He's out in the center of the map, though. Only a 5-worker lead for him now, but it's still 45 probes, which is just fine. Meanwhile, okay, where's the Reavers? Where's the Storms? There's a great one from Dewalt, but where are Zhanhun's Storm? He's getting all of his Dragoons blanketed. Now they're so softened up. 3 Dragoons explode in an instant. There's a Storm in the back, but this just doesn't seem like it's enough.
There was so much side storm over huge clumps of Dragoons, and Zhanhun getting caught out of position, getting boxed out of his third. The Zealots marching forward. The side storms coming from Zhanhun are too late, and that is, yeah, there's G. Dewalt with some brilliant play top to bottom. And I think actually I want to point out, yeah, having that probe scout sit in his base. So rather than sending out that probe scout early, that just snowballed everything all the way through the game. But that critical moment where that observer just walking forward, clearing the path, making sure everything was absolutely that he knew he was not going to have vision on the opposite side, and dropping the double shuttle with the 2 Reavers and 4 Zealots in the base, that was the defining moment of the match. Really rocketed ahead, and Zhanhun dropping game 1. So Dewalt showing that he wants this. He is playing on another level. And that was the map. That was the map where we were saying, okay, what's the timbre of these matches going to be? What is the feel of it? And right now, Dewalt making a statement that on Eclipse, if you're just, this is the map you know, this is the map I know, I win those matches.
Yeah, and I'm very excited now because that was a slugfest. That was very back and forth, very close. As you stated, the Zealot Reaver drop really sealed the deal, and the fact that he got out with both Reavers and got more damage done at the natural really sealed the victory for him. I think Zhanhun had to just go for the all-in, and the fact that he just stayed on the back foot, I mean, you saw Dewalt had the better angle. Zhanhun had no vision either. Like, he walked out at the very last fight and just ran into like 3 storms in an instant, and you just can't do that.
Yeah, there was also the other little bit where Dewalt lost the 2 Reavers inside Zhanhun's main and natural expansion. And Dewalt immediately responded, recognizing that Zhanhun was going to be a little bit scattered at the natural, and took that opportunity to wipe the Reaver and shuttle out over that plateau at the 3 o'clock location instantly. And I thought that was absolutely genius. That was just icing on the cake. I think he still would have been able to defend otherwise, particularly with that shield battery in place. But just doing that right there, equalizing the mid-game heavy unit, the big units, the Reavers, the High Templar, able to equalize that count, really put him over the top. And it was just absolutely genius. And it just shows you Dewalt is thinking, he is playing 4D chess here. He is making those moves to think about, you know, what's the next thing I need to do down the line. And he looked really prepared to sweep this series.
Yeah, and that's what you need to do when you're at the top level. Everybody can macro as well as you can. Everybody can micro as well as you can. But the little things where you draw people out of position. Oh, you're focused over here? Oh, okay, I'm going to attack in the middle right now. Like, that's how you become great. That's what separates the good from the great in the potential champions, right? And I saw a massive donation from Dragon coming in. And you can see that for our BSL14 goal. We're almost halfway there. So thank you, Dragon, for the massive donation, $100. That's huge. And you guys, we're almost halfway to our BSL 15 goal. So definitely consider making a donation if you can, if you enjoy what you see and you want to see some more BSL action, especially in 15 and beyond.
Also want to say, you know, Zero's birthday is tomorrow, so early birthday gifts to Zero. Go ahead and pump that. I mean, if you want good StarCraft, this is where, especially in the foreigner community, this is where it's happening. Donate, make it happen. And I'll make that call again. Yeah, subscribe, donate, add to the Patreon. We want to make sure that BSL 15. I honestly want to see I want to be around to see like the BSL35, whatever, years from now. And can be like, I was once part of that sort of thing where it's like, seeing the old guys come out in the Super Bowl. I absolutely want to see that with BSL and see it continue for an extremely long period of time. And Zero's the guy making it happen. So be sure to donate towards that effort. But now I almost wonder if we're going to... So we saw that Dewalt can win on Eclipse a 2-player map. Now we'll see what happens potentially if there... Do we know what the next map is? Once we hit the next map, if we're moving to a 4-player map, if Zhanhun... Because that's the thing, when he beat Bonnet, he did it in macro fashion. So maybe there are scoops and spaces here where he's saying, you know what, Dewalt, on a map where you can't get away with just keeping your probe in base, I can take those matches. Or is he maybe even noticing that and maybe might try to punish it with the proxy 2-gate or something along those lines. But we'll have to see. I'm not going to say that series. The thing I do want to note is Zhanhun, despite some early disadvantages, found ways to get back in this match. And this is going to be really taxing, I think, for Zero, just to try to keep up with what is happening across the map. Because in game one, it seemed like there were multiple attacks, there were multiple key things happening just all over the place. Zhanhun showed some very strong play, didn't end up winning him the match, but distracting Dewalt mid-map, and then turning around and dropping those high Templar at the natural expansion. And that, he had like a 20, 25 probe lead, and all of a sudden it dropped within 4. So Zhanhun did show promise to be able to do the exact same thing that Dewalt did. And I'm wondering if on a map like Goodnight, as we have right here, if the macro advantage will shift to Zhanhun.
Yeah, we know that he is very strong in the macro play, and Goodnight tends to be a huge macro map. So let's go into game 2. Dewalt up 1-0 so far. Okay, in the top left position, it is Dewalt.
And in the upper right, as the blue Protoss, we have Zhanhun.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Have we seen? We did see PvP of Zhanhun versus Bonnet here. I remember Zhanhun was bottom right. I think he ended up going for... Wasn't it 2-gate versus 2-gate? And Bonnet just got flat out microed.
Yeah, he got out. Well, it was... I think there were individual little micro fights, and I think Bonnet won like an engagement or 2. But in the midst of that, Zhanhun just out-macroed him. He was like, go ahead and play your little micro game. Go ahead and try to do these little Reaver pickoffs here and there. He came in, he just would sweep in after that, being up 3 or 4 Dragoons. And just having over... And then absolutely dominating the micro fights. And also, yeah, Zhanhun did a fantastic job in some of the Reaver engagements, which was shocking against Bonnet. And so, yeah, he does have the micro there. It looks like both players, neither player going for proxy, just going to open up a standard gate. Looks like Zhanhun once again going to send out an earlier scout to see if it makes its way towards bottom right or if it is going to make its way towards top left. But yeah, Zhanhun showing. So this is the thing. Dewalt making a statement game 1. However, there were multiple periods in that map where I'm like, Zhanhun might come back here. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Zhanhun does a quick swing back here, and it looks like we are going to see a 2-gate opener. Ooh, this is going to be rough. So a 2-gate opener, but the spawn is upper left, and the probe is going to get a little bit of a later scout.
Yeah, and luckily for Dewalt, he's going to find Zhanhun first. So, oh no, he's not. This is going to be maybe a cross scout. Oh my gosh, it went from being what looked like an amazing scout to the absolute worst scout pattern possible. He's going to go bottom left. Then I imagine he's probably just going to go bottom right and find Zhanhun in the last position. Meanwhile, well, now he may luck out because both of the probes are going to be intercepted, and he may be thinking, this scout pattern looks reminiscent of a top right scout pattern. So he may get lucky here and at least find him in the second position.
The critical thing here, though, is Dewalt isn't going to know that it's a 2-gate opener. I assume we're going to see the 3 Zealot pressure and a pause from there. Oftentimes with just the first Dragoon, so it looks like there is going to be a first Zealot. Probably going to be a Dragoon out for Dewalt. But part of the problem in trying to engage this, is we'll see if the assimilator gets dropped. That'll let us know whether there's going to be 5 Zealot pressure, 3 Zealot pressure, or continuous pressure from there. But this is a big rush distance to try to execute this. This is a wide open ramp to get those Zealots in, but oftentimes, even if you end up losing those 3 Zealots with no probe hits, because of the pressure that ends up being applied in your opponent's base, you end up ahead in probes, just how things work out.
Yep, and this time around, Dewalt did build a Zealot, which is very crucial for holding this attack. First Dragoon is going to be popping out momentarily too, but Dragoons take 32 seconds, so it's going to be quite a while before he gets up enough DPS to just take these 3 Zealots head on. He's going to have to micro his heart out. He does see the first 2 Zealots now. You can see he's trying to get as much damage done onto that single Zealot before it can get into the main, but he's going to have to back off for now.
Looks like he's trying to peek that Zealot to get a one-on-one situation in that back corner, buying time for that second Dragoon to go mount. Those Zealots sneaking around the lower edge, now re-engaging 2-on-1 versus that Zealot, and 1 Zealot being peeled off to try to engage the probe on the left. This is going to do some economic harassment. You can also, while all this is happening, keep an eye on that probe count in the upper right-hand corner and see if Zhanhun comes out with an advantage. 1 Zealot taken care of in the probe line. The second Zealot's been taken out by the Dragoons. Another Zealot walking up, so it looks like it was going to be a 4 dedication. Thus far, Dewalt doesn't look like he's lost any probes. However, he's still ending up behind in the overall probe count. Another Zealot walking up. He's just going to go ahead and wail. Is he going to be able to pick that out in the pile? The probes trying to defend their brethren. A nice SimCity of the Zealot being taken out from above. And that was actually a fairly much larger Zealot dedication than I was expecting. Dewalt holding it pretty well. Looks like he's going to continue to pressure in, but behind this, you can see that he's down 1 probe. So let's see, but he's up 3 Dragoons and a Zealot. This Zealot trying to buy time for Zhanhun as much as possible, because if Dewalt actually made it, I think that was actually critical, because if Dewalt was able to get a move on, he might have been able to do something disruptive at the natural expansion.
Yeah, he does catch that hidden Zealot again. He's like, dude, man, I just want to go for a stroll. Just let me go. Just let me get away. We've got another Manor pylon this time around. It's the one. And look how many probes get blocked by a single pylon. What is that, 6? That's big economic damage done by a single pylon. Meanwhile, a counterattack with 3 goons may be able to catch Zhanhun before these additional Dragoons pop out. Now, as I stated, Dewalt can play it all, and we can see that this time around, after vision has been cleared out, he goes into the Citadel. He picks off 1 Dragoon. It looks like he may even have range done already, so he's got range advantage. He's got even Dragoon count.
This is critical, though. Right now, he had those 2 Dragoons spawn right on top of him. This isn't going to be a fight that he's going to win overall. But what he has done is he's gotten eyes, he's delayed things. I think he's confirmed and maybe created a degree of distraction. That's 3 gates and no observatory yet, and we have that Templar Archives just finishing.
Yeah, now this is where Zhanhun's spidey senses need to be tingling. Okay, Dewalt backs off, so there's nothing going to be tingling here. But like, if Protoss was in your face constantly, and you know there's no way that the opposing Protoss could win these fights, you'd start to wonder, like, okay, why are you still attacking me? Like, you know, I have more gateways than you. Like, what's the deal with this? But because there's no attacks, there's no Forge, there's no Robo, he's going to go into DTs himself. But this ramp is so big, I'm not even sure 1 DT can take up the whole width of the ramp. Like, I think you might actually need 2 to block out DTs from getting in.
So, yeah, it's going to be a while. He's going to need to plop down a Forge and get a cannon up somewhere. His Dark Templar are going to come out much, much later. He's now running forward with those Dragoons, so he's not even going to have the ramp block. So I think Dewalt's going to be able to walk right by. Maybe he'll see the Shimmer and be able to blockade with the rest of these troops. Okay, he does see, I think he sees the Shimmer. Now he's trying, no, it doesn't block any of the troops. 1 Dark Templar looks like it's going to rededicate. Zhanhun now attacking forward. A Forge is going to be necessary, but Zhanhun's streaming troops against Dewalt. So Dewalt, potentially, he needs to hold his ramp, maybe cancel that Nexus, get some additional Dark Templar out. Keep in mind, no Observer, so those Dark Templar are going to be critical in defense. So, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hold his Nexus here. The Dark Templar are doing a lot of damage. They're unopposed for the forces there, and Dewalt getting the both DTs in Zhanhun's probe line, and there's the GG. So Dewalt, yeah, I like that play. He had that probe in his opposition base. He had the Dragoons dedicated with the attack just to see, okay, do you have a robotics facility or not? And upon not seeing that robotics facility, knew those DTs were going to walk forward and win the game. And having those back DT, yeah, Zhanhun, I don't even know if I want to call that like a build order loss. That was more, Dewalt got in his, just played that perfectly, got in his opponent's base, and won game 2, honestly, in my opinion, in a very convincing fashion. That wasn't one of these, oh, I'm just going to build order win. This was, I know exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm going to control this top to bottom.
Yeah, and what I was most impressed by was the probe control. Did you see that control? Like, there was 5 probes that got hit 1 or 2 times, and he lost 0. Goose egg. None of the probes died. He was still down probes because he was so focused on the micro, but he didn't lose any, which could have been catastrophic for him. So nicely done. Really, really tight defense. I was kind of worried that he may overstep his bounds with his initial attack, but the DT follow-up was perfect, and he got lucky there that there was no Robo, no Forge, no Citadel. You know, a lot of people transitioned into cannons in expansion after the 2 gates, so a little bit of luck on his side.
Yeah, actually, really, it was interesting watching the probe micro where you just saw that one probe that was damaged run. It was like all the rest of the probe heroes blockading the Zealot as they were approaching. And they just did there was also really amazing probe drilling that was happening. It seemed like as those Zealots were in Dewalt's base, there was only a moment or two where they could even attack once they were amidst the probe line, just because the drone drill, or the probe drill, I should say, was going through the Zealots with such accuracy. So a very nice defense. Dedicating the 5 Zealots, I think if he had dedicated the 3, he still would have ended up ahead and been able to move the game from there. But dedicating the 5, Dewalt just pounced on it, just turned around, and it really did look like I don't know, almost did seem like a cat kind of toying with his prey at that stage. So Dewalt looking very convincing in game 1, game 2. I still think Zhanhun can take matches here, and this is the best of 7. So, but right now, as things look, Dewalt he's got a fire, and he's looking like he's the better Protoss player.
Yeah, and when you lose a game like that, and then you also lose the previous game where you just flat out got outplayed, out macroed, you start questioning, like, okay, well, what do I do versus this guy? Can I go toe-to-toe versus him macro? I mean, I've had that play out in my mind too. Like, you just get absolutely crushed, or it's close, but you still lose. You're like, well, what do I have to do? And he's going to have to pull out something special, because now we're back on a 2-player map. There's all types of stuff that could come at you, and I don't know if he watched the race wars yesterday, race championships yesterday versus Dandy. Dewalt can proxy you. He can go proxy gates. You got to be very careful versus someone like him, especially when you're on a 2-player map. And I realize Butter and Eclipse are similar in the sense that they're 2-player maps, but you're not going to be feeling as comfortable on Butter, even though it is similar to Eclipse in the aspect that it is 2 players.
What I actually liked what Dewalt did, where he was a little bit of a later scouting pattern, but he checked the middle. He's like, okay, game 1, you might have looked and seen, but I didn't send that probe scout out. So now what I'm going to do is, just in case you're 2-gating and reacting to that, I'm going to go ahead and check the standard 2-gate location in the middle of the map with that probe scout. So I really like that decision-making from Dewalt. And that also, yeah, I think that puts Zhanhun kind of, if he looks at that replay before going into this next match, he's got to feel somewhat uncomfortable, where it's like, okay, he can play keeping that probe in. He can go ahead and do the scout. He can send DTs against me. He's got incredible micro. Yeah, what do you do in this situation? Honestly, if I was Zhanhun at this stage, maybe just try to settle back and go back into default macro.
Yeah, I like that idea. We'll see what Zhanhun comes up with. Game 3 is going to be Butter. Let's get into it. Okay, in the top right position, our red Protoss. It is Dewalt.
And the bottom right has the blue Protoss. We have Zhanhun.
Yeah, you know what I would have loved? I would have loved to see. I'm imagining this in my head, like, okay, what's the dream scenario that I want to see? I would have loved to see Dewalt spawn bottom right, and then build gateways in Zhanhun's base in top right, because he can throw a game right now. He's up 2-0, and if you kill somebody with a move like that, you literally just shatter all of their confidence going into game 4. We don't see that, of course, but I would have loved to see it.
This is kind of Butter, one of those 2-player maps. I wouldn't be shocked to see both these guys go 3-gate, actually, on this. Because Butter is, first of all, rampless, but also, if you end up with map control in the mid-game, it is huge. And I think this is why Butter is such an interesting map, is because if you end up with map control, that oftentimes, where you can apply, basically, if you can apply pressure to your opponent in the mid-game, I actually want to more move that direction. You can apply pressure to your opponent, that opens up those expansions at the far side of the map. But if you at any point are not able to apply pressure to your opponent, all of a sudden you're just trying to defend this huge amount of territory at the 9 o'clock location, and obviously at your main, your natural. And so, yeah, I think that's just what ends up being very interesting matches, and I think that's what makes very interesting PvPs on this map as well.
Well, I don't know if you just caught this, but do you see how much territory Dewalt already covered? He even scouted his main for those proxy gateways. So he would not have been caught off guard by a potential Quark-like move like we saw him pull out versus Mihu. So Dewalt definitely aware of the player he's playing against. He knows that could definitely be a viable opening from somebody of the caliber of Zhanhun, so nicely done from him. Meanwhile, Zhanhun goes for a slightly later scout, but if you look at the cybernetics timing, the resource, I mean, everything is pretty much synced up together.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some mineral boosting happening there, because Dewalt moved out with that scout much earlier. But at the same time, he was ahead in the probe count somehow in the midst of that. And right now, you can even see he's like ahead in the probe count.
Ooh.
Wow, battle probes with an instant surround. I think Zhanhun was hoping that's got to be a confidence hit, where he was, I think, hoping to get yet another mana pylon, and instead the probe's getting a big surround and obliterating in battle probe banner the opponent scout in his base.
I would have loved to just see Dewalt put down another Citadel instantly and just tell this guy, like, all right, well, if you lose vision of me ever, you got to be very weary that potentially DTs could be coming out. We see that's not the case. It is going to be just a standard opener. And again, Zhanhun really loves to delay his range just slightly. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a big delay, but you can see it's like 5-10 seconds slower than Dewalt so far. But so far, mirrored builds, except, oh no, there's the 3-gate that you were talking about from Dewalt.
So Dewalt going to go ahead and tack on 3 gates. And on top of this, I think Zhanhun is a little bit shaken, because despite this being just being the early game, Dewalt has at times snuck up 3 probes. And Zhanhun's known for his strong macro, so I feel like he's feeling a little bit intimidated here. But yeah, this is going to be 3-gate. We'll see if Zhanhun's going to be able to scout it. That's going to be the next question. Is he going to be able to move forward and get the information to realize what he's going up against?
Now, I'm trying to think, have we seen a successful 3-gate even all season long of BSL? Of course, the person that comes to mind for 3 gates, at least this season, is Jaeyoon. He did it every single game, and it led to, I think, no victories for him. I remember maybe Ghostdart going for a 3-gate, but again, I don't think it led to a victory. Dewalt's going to try his luck this time around. He's got a great opener, 3-gate versus 1-gate robo into a delayed 2nd gate. I imagine this is about as good of a build as you can really dream of. There's also no Citadel, so no potential DTs.
Yeah, I think this might be a big builder advantage. Range just finishing. And the other thing is this, I like this build on this map in particular, because going for any 2-gate or adding on Robo to have Reavers, this is a rampless map. And it's a wide open natural expansion. It's very difficult to protect Reavers on this map. So having overwhelming amounts of Dragoons in the mid game can win you the game. And we'll see if Walt presses forward when he's going to pull the trigger. I also love what he's doing here. He's got staggered 2 Dragoons to engage the Dragoon midfield. So he's only showing 2 Dragoons here. He's not showing the 3-gate, but in the meantime, he's got all of those Dragoons sneaking up right behind it.
Yeah, but he sees the trailing goons. You can see that the vision doesn't go instantly. So actually, Zhanhun knows what's going on. It's 4 goons and 1 zealot. So it is a goon advantage right now, but the zealot should soak up a lot of hits. It comes down to target firing. He jumps on that first Dragoon already. Goodbye, Dragoon. However, Zhanhun's goons managed to pop a single goon before Dewalt can pop a goon, and now it's 2 goons versus 3, but they're so dangerously low. Look at the zealot just doing work, body blocking, and Zhanhun's gonna hold.
Zhanhun holding currently. Let's see if he can hold for the long haul, because 2 more Dragoons now moving up, close to reinforcement point. Keep in mind that Zealot taking a massive amount of damage. And this is going to be the moment right here, is can Zhanhun switch around and sneak into this? The Observer was built first, so he's down a gateway in production. He does have the reinforcement point, but it's going to be 4 Dragoons versus 3, backing up into his base, trying to buy some time to get additional Dragoons out. A big volley of fire that Dewalt ate early, with Zhanhun holding position and doing a re-engagement though. So right now, with the closer reinforcement, more Dragoons peeling up. He's done what he can. Zhanhun needs to he might even need to pull probes against this. Buying time right now has a Dragoon advantage, and this is what Zhanhun needs to do. When he has the advantage, press it. When he doesn't, fall back and allow reinforcements to do your work. But right now, Dewalt getting out microed. And it looks like Zhanhun, with the big supply lead, and Dewalt, yeah, just got out microed by Zhanhun. It looks like Zhanhun might have just straight up defended.
Yeah, and behind this, he's going to take his Nexus. He knows that the 3-gate pressure cannot continue, especially with the Reaver about to come out. So that was really nicely done from Zhanhun. I thought Dewalt was going to instantly kill a Dragoon in the initial engagement, but Zhanhun microed it away, and actually Zhanhun was the one that got the first kill off. So that was a big deal in that initial skirmish. Now, meanwhile, constant Dragoon pressure is actually coming across the map. It is 7 goons versus just 5, so the Nexus was not able to get up. Oh, is he really going to try and push in? It is 7 versus 5 right now. The Reaver pops out, though. There's no Scarab, so this could be Dewalt's moment, but at the same time, it could be Zhanhun's moment. That's a bit of a dud right there. I think Dewalt got a bit lucky that none of his Dragoons took any damage from that Reaver. He's got to be careful not to get clumped.
Oof, one taking a big hit right there. There was a huge... It looks like he's going to go ahead and Zhanhun's going to open this up wisely to try to bully this back out. I was wondering if Dewalt was just going to go ahead and try to sit outside the natural expansion, try to get an earlier Nexus and try to bully it from there. I was actually shocked he decided to press this forward. But this is where it becomes precarious, is there's no ramp to protect that Reaver, so you got to wait on a shuttle. And if you press too far forward, the Dragoons can hop on it like this. So that Reaver needs to get back. It is getting hit by fire. The Reaver's gone. And so now that natural expansion is once again denied to Zhanhun. And Dewalt continuing to press things back and going to go ahead and back up and again deny this natural expansion. This is what I was talking about precisely. And Dewalt getting his own shuttle up. He has his own robo. So potentially he's going to have a Reaver out there and he can just delay that natural expansion and go ahead and grab his own Nexus.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, this does not look like the greatest situation for Zhanhun anymore. He's up workers, but he's down army. And he got his Reaver caught. Reaver is gonna be started for Dewalt, and he also already has a shuttle done. So he's gonna be able to get his Reaver across the map pretty darn quickly, and also he's gonna have the advantage where he can actually go for a drop in the main faster than Zhanhun can. Now the Reaver is out for Zhanhun, but it is still a big Dragoon advantage for Dewalt right now. He may be able to pounce on this Reaver also, so he's got to be careful. Or Zhanhun has to be careful if he does lead forward again with that Reaver.
He does have the advantage of the Observer this time to go ahead and keep an eye on when those Dragoons are pressing forward or pressing not. That's actually a big significant advantage. You can see the Reaver looking to take pot shots where they can, but Zhanhun needs to be so careful with this Reaver to make sure that and he actually needs to get the move on potentially, because there might be a counterattack from Dewalt with this army out of position, might try to sweep in from that right-hand side with the Reaver, potentially just join that army and press things forward if Zhanhun overcommits. But that Nexus has already started for Dewalt in the meantime. He's pressing forward into this. Dewalt needs to be careful with his Reaver, but this is a pocket army on both sides. A single scared shot from either player could be critical here.
Yep, trading Scarab shots. And Zhanhun's gonna move out, but Dewalt gets a connection right there. However, the units are more clumped up for Dewalt. The Reaver is, oh my gosh, there's just so many more Dragoons for Dewalt, but take that back. Big Reaver shot from Zhanhun evens up the score. The Zelts are doing work. I'm not sure if that Reaver shot connected. Zhanhun just barely gonna hold on, but Dewalt has the Nexus advantage at his natural. It's basically done by now.
So right now, Zhanhun has that slight advantage. He's got a slight army advantage. He's got a slight probe advantage. But the Nexus is now finished for Dewalt. Dewalt is going to be able to go ahead and double produce those probes to eliminate that advantage. Zhanhun sees it. Now, Zhanhun needs to get a move on while that troop count was wiped, where Dewalt doesn't have a lot of troops to defend. Maybe move up with that Reaver, pressure the front, and go for an attack at the main to equalize things. And it looks like that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, and he already has speed shuttle, so it's getting across the map in a hurry. There's no observer at all for Dewalt, so he has no idea that this was coming. The Reavers unload. It looks like that SimCity does not help Dewalt at all. And that's a good connection for Zhanhun. That's exactly what he needs. Now it's a big probe gap. It's 36 to 26. Zhanhun making a massive comeback here. Well, not a massive comeback, but a massive stand in game 3. 4th gateway going up. He's got a ton of units. Battery at the natural is interesting. We'll see if it can actually come into play. Oh, he picked off one of the Reavers.
So now it's going to be 2 Reaver versus 1. Zhanhun forced this forward, and that was a huge loss, because that was going to be the advantage from Zhanhun, honestly, was to be able to cycle to the main, cycle to the natural expansion, force Dewalt to try to micro on all fronts, maybe try to get quick little micro battles right there. But Zhanhun, in the meantime, getting a little bit of a Miss Mariner there where the probes are returning to the main, so it's going to be a little bit of a delay. But with that huge hit in the main of taking out all those probes, he's definitely equalized having that Nexus out somewhat later. So now Dewalt has to do to catch up. He's now actually in a similar situation to game 1, where he's economically behind. He needs to find a way to equalize things. He might, despite being down troops, somehow he's got to find some way to catch up in the probe count. He did have that earlier Nexus, so he's going to have a little bit better saturation for a period of time, but he's still down a significant amount of probes.
Yeah, 12 worker advantage for Zhanhun right now. Dewalt trying his best to catch up, but when you have an even Nexus count, it's going to be hard to catch up. I see more and more blue building up on the center of the map. The Reaver count should be pretty close to even right now. Finally, Zhanhun is starting to cut probes himself just to pump out more units. But again, I love his pylon placements on the right side. Look at it. He's got a ton of vision. Meanwhile, Dewalt really has almost no vision. So he has no idea whenever there's a drop coming into the main or even the natural.
And this is where that stage of the match where I was thinking like 3-gate play might lead into it. But this is where Zhanhun can apply pressure to Dewalt, and Dewalt cannot apply pressure to Zhanhun, which is huge on this map. Absolutely huge. Zhanhun has map control, has troops out there. Dewalt doesn't know necessarily where they're at, so he has to play defensive. Yeah, you're right. He has absolutely no vision. Zhanhun has great vision and even has that pylon just in case some Reavers are trying to sneak across the map. And I don't think Dewalt can afford this time to sneak up another shuttle and drop his troops. So he's just got to play it out. And that's gonna result in being behind in the macro in the mid game. It looks like Zhanhun looking to maybe for this front, maybe take a pylon out, maybe get a pot shot and do significant damage here.
That is a fearsome army, and he is just going to sit outside of the natural of Dewalt. I have to say, Dewalt seemed to have ramped up his gateway count quite quickly for his probe count. So this may be a Citadel just intending to get fast speed and then just go all in 6-gate zealots. He's already got a sizable goon count. He doesn't necessarily need more, but he may be able to overwhelm or catch Zhanhun off guard if he can get up a decent zealot count. The Reaver with the battery just doesn't die. Nicely done.
Still going to lose the pylon. That's actually going to put Dewalt in the red, which hurts here, and it looks like he's going to go for that other pylon as well. The Reavers just have to sit and watch it. So he was trying to get some pot shots out, just leaving one Reaver just in case that shuttle. Huge hit! Takes out one Reaver on the front. That might be worth the trade right there. But Dewalt, this probably hurts Dewalt more than it hurts Zhanhun, though, because he needs to macro up. And without those pylons to defend on the front, they keep getting obliterated. Ooh, took a big hit right there. And the Dragoon's now pressing up against the shield battery. This is going to cause Dewalt to engage. Loses that Reaver on the front. The Dragoon's now going to back off. So they took a big hit, a big splash, but his only shield repositioning, re-engaging that. Reaver is exposed on the front. Both Reavers down. The other Reaver that is in this army is way out of position. And Dewalt scattering. You can see where he just doesn't have position to engage this army. Doesn't have concavity. Zhanhun now bowling in.
Yeah, and the goons are doing so much damage. Okay, he takes down the shuttle, does Dewalt, so that means it's an isolated Reaver. But that Reaver for Dewalt is so dangerously low, like it's within one shot of being taken down. Look at this, look at the micro though. Just barely holding on is Dewalt, and he may actually hold this again. Another goon shot does not connect onto the Reaver, and that Reaver sitting at 7 health is dishing out a ton of more damage that it really should never, ever deal.
Wow. How did Dewalt hold this? He did it from behind his own Nexus, from behind his own shield battery that was unpowered, but somehow managed to reset the troop count entirely. However, he still got more work to do. Zhanhun still has map control, he still has a supply lead, he still has a probe lead, and the main for both players is starting to look thin. Zhanhun still looks like he's in a position to go ahead and grab his third early, but that's got to be frustrating. You're thinking you can go ahead and push in, do lots of damage, maybe even get some probes to the natural, but instead you get pushed back and your army gets reset.
What's funny now is Dewalt actually has better income than Zhanhun because Zhanhun already mined out his main. Now I realize there's not much left for Dewalt in his main himself, but if we look at the supply, 13 worker gap, but actually there's only a 7 supply gap total. So right now, army advantage for Dewalt, and Zhanhun's going to continue to push the issue. But imagine if Dewalt's not bottled up in the corner this time, he might be able to have a better engagement, but he doesn't realize that Zhanhun is kind of all in with this. There's no third base. Reaver gonna unload on the natural, not gonna get any damage done, but the majority of Dewalt's army is sitting in the main, out of position.
And this is kind of that critical moment where, yeah, moving into the mid game, I think Zhanhun still had, so he reset his army, which actually hurt his ability to apply pressure to Dewalt. He is going to get that third much, much more rapidly than Dewalt. Dewalt's still boxed in, and if Zhanhun can continue to do this, apply pressure, it doesn't matter if he's behind an army. If he can continue to apply pressure, Dewalt's simply not going to be able to move out and grab a third, and Zhanhun is simply just going to be able to stranglehold and starve him out.
Yeah, and Nexus going down for Zhanhun, but that's 400 minerals, that is not units, and both players mining on one base, so if somebody wants to attack, you got to think like, well, that could have been an additional 4 Zealots, could have been an additional 3 Goons, could have been a couple of Archons like we see Dewalt morphing in right now. And now when he sees that the third base is just about to finish and there's just now a probe transfer, he's probably going to feel pretty confident in his position to go for a counterattack. So I think we're going to finally see Dewalt get out in the map in just a second.
Yeah, I think this might be the swing moment here. Well, Dewalt's going to go ahead and crash down. Looks like, actually, no, I take it back. He's going to go ahead and grab his base at the 11 o'clock position. Now that Zhanhun, once that base was scouted, is feeling a little bit more uncomfortable. A Dark Templar, however, engaging. It looks like nice blockade. Look at that blockade. Trying to block it away from the third. However, it looks like that third is going to get scouted. That probe potentially going to get taken out. It looks like, I don't know if Dewalt didn't see it or he saw it. He's just going to let it go. But that probe's now gone. That's going to delay the third. And this is huge, actually, because Dewalt's going to have to move his troops all the way back across to deal with that Dark Templar. In the meantime, Zhanhun moving all the troops forward to take position in the middle of the map and potentially assault and, again, be able to apply pressure and keep his third up longer, get that saturated earlier, and just be in a much stronger position.
Yeah, and it draws all the units of Dewalt out of position. Meanwhile, Zhanhun not taking advantage of that. In fact, he moved backwards, I guess, to take down an observer. Reaver is moving across the map at the top left, but it also is going to back off. There's almost a 20 supply lead now for Zhanhun. The DT comes back in again, gonna try and deny this cannon. Now it's getting ugly. It's getting very, very chaotic. You can see that there's a bit of missed micro here. Even gonna bleed off an Archon is Dewalt. That's a huge deal. Every unit matters.
Great play from Zhanhun. He threw up that distractionary Dark Templar at that 11 o'clock base while Dewalt was trying to micro probes against that. He moved the army around. Dewalt lost control of his army. Losing that Archon is absolutely huge. Right now, Zhanhun doing everything he needs to do to win game 3. A Reaver moving up might be able to catch these probes and transfer. Both Dragoons are wiped out, and these probes are exposed on the front. This could be a huge hit if it shoots. It looks like it's going to be a dud. Wow, Dewalt missing what would have been a game-ending shot, in my opinion. But still, Zhanhun in a strong position. This is, what I'm talking about, where Dewalt just has to defend a massive amount of territory. And Zhanhun is just feeling free and, fancy free to go ahead and macro behind this. And Zhanhun with a big supply lead, still with a huge probe lead. And Dewalt needs to sneak something, somehow, to get back in this match.
Oh, this is high ground advantage for Zhanhun. Dewalt gonna have to turn around here. This is the engagement that Zhanhun has been looking for. His Zealots are going one-on-one versus the Archons. Maybe not the ideal angle right there, but he definitely wants to sit on high ground and force an unfavorable advantage or unfavorable engagement if he can. Third base fully kicking in for Zhanhun. You can see he's up 40 supply now, so a huge lead for him. +1 coming in for both, or actually +2 for both players coming in.
So +2, and it looks like +2 is dead even for both players as well. So the armies will be equally matched, but Zhanhun just with a much larger army to field if he can just control it. So Dewalt, he needs to get lucky and do exactly this. Pick off troops. If he can get those high Templar, that would be absolutely massive. The Thunderstorm being dropped, the Reaver is only eating a little bit of shield damage. Another high Templar moving forward needs to be very, very cautious. But he needs to somehow catch Zhanhun as he's out of position with his army. Observer is going to see that Reaver along the left-hand corner. But Zhanhun doing a brilliant play here. Keeps drawing troops to the upper left and then repositioning over this mid-plateau. And while he's doing all of this, he looks like he's staging up to go ahead and grab his 4th.
Yep, this is exactly what he should be doing, and he's still sitting on the 50 probe count, which is fine for 2 bases. Again, he's moving his units into a favorable position on the high ground. He may come barreling down now. The Reaver's leading the charge. Gonna get a couple shots on the Archon. That's fantastic. And Zhanhun, I think he just has an overwhelming army. I don't see any Storm available for Dewalt either. This is gonna be the big fight. That's a great Storm blankets. All of the Reavers, all of the Dragoons, so many of the Archons got blanketed too. Supplies have plummeted for both players. The Archons are trying to push through, but there's just not enough supply for Dewalt. Or maybe
this is what Zhanhun does, but there's a reinforcement of Zealots moving in. That might be the thing that saves Dewalt here. But Zhanhun, keep in mind, in the midst of this, is still in position to go ahead and grab his 4th. And as he's exiting, there was an Archon that managed to sneak through and deny the 3rd. So Dewalt in a really troubling position here where, yes, there's that 3rd, but he's having trouble even mining out of it. Finally, Dewalt able to clean up what's there, moving those pros back to the 3 o'clock position. Zhanhun's been mining this entire time in the midst of this, and this is what I'm saying. Zhanhun wins. You can go ahead and win individual micro fights, but Zhanhun is going to win the war through macro regardless. And honestly, I felt like Zhanhun was doing what Dewalt needed to do in the mid game, finding little bits of troop count out in the field and picking them off and separating them and continuing to grow that lead. Zhanhun in a really strong position right now.
Well, somehow Dewalt, I think, got the better end of the trade there. He reset the army from Zhanhun, but the problem is it's just the worker count. The worker count is really the big issue here. If it was like something for 45 for Dewalt, I think he would still have a shot at this. But the fact that it's such a huge gap, there's a 35 supply lead still. It's just, I don't know if Dewalt can win a follow-up attack. Also, he lost all of his powerful high-tech units. All of the Archons died. All the Reavers died. I realize Zhanhun lost most of his Reavers and Archons and Templars too, but he's got better saturation. He can rebuild those high-tech units faster.
Yeah, actually just had a thought. Because both players have been stuck to 2 bases at this entire time, that 50 probe count isn't as large an advantage as it would usually be. It should kick in now as that third's being grabbed from Zhanhun, but because it's been 2 base versus 2 base this entire time, it hasn't been as significant an advantage. And also just the way things have lined up, there have been more mineral patches down for Dewalt. So despite the fact he's been behind on probes, it hasn't shown as huge an impact just because butter the map. And I'm wondering if Dewalt did that as a calculation or not, or maybe it's just favorable, but currently it doesn't matter because Zhanhun still has a much larger army. He's now moving up to 3 bases, and he's just, he's got a 50 supply lead, and that, I don't know what Dewalt can do, honestly, to get back into this. That just seems like too large a chasm to surmount.
Well, I see Reaver advantage for Zhanhun. I see Archon advantage. I think Templar count is somewhat even. There's definitely a Zealot advantage for Zhanhun, but there's Goon advantage for Dewalt. So he needs to be careful to not let these Zealots get on top of all of these Dragoons, because we know Zealots are definitely better than Goons in straight up engagements. Now that Storm I thought was going to deal more damage than it did. It's okay, that's a decent amount of damage right there, but again, Zhanhun has the high ground. He needs to blanket these Reavers. Reaver takes out one of the Templars.
And actually, Templars expending a lot of Sidestorm on just a handful of troops where he might have wanted to wait for the bulk units. But Zhanhun only sending out a few troops, maybe to empty that Sidestorm before he goes for the full engagement with what's left. But as you see the supply counts, they're actually starting to even a little bit. And despite high ground, Dewalt attacking into this, maybe as a last raw, realizing that he can't defend this third should he lose this engagement. So this might be the GG moment here. The Zealots getting on top of the Dragoons, boxing them out, Dewalt being forced back. Dragoon trying to go ahead and get a sneak attack, maybe find a high Templar behind that, but Zhanhun just barreling forward into these troops.
Yeah, it's so many Zealots. There's still 3 Archons left over for Zhanhun. The Nexus is isolated now. This is probably the nail in the coffin. There it is. There's the GG. And Zhanhun, he's going to bring it back to 2-1.
And not only did he bring it back, he brought it back from, in my opinion, a build order disadvantage. Like he executed the 2-gate versus 3-gate play fantastically, and that maybe was less Dewalt being so commanding and was Zhanhun warming up. Because honestly, that was a convincing win in Game 3 on Butter. So now maybe we're going to see that maybe it was just like we needed to get the fire started for Zhanhun, needed to kind of get the kinks out in a tournament situation, and now we got a match. Now it's still best of 7. You got to win 4. Dewalt, I still like that build order from Dewalt. I still liked what happened there, but there was this really critical moment, which hopefully it confirms there is this just a half moment where a Dragoon was moving forward and Zhanhun was moving back, and then he did a stop position on the Dragoons and just a full volley managed to hit a Dragoon that was leading forward from Dewalt. And it was just having that one additional Dragoon plus the close reinforcement point that Zhanhun was able to completely turn around that micro battle, it was perfectly executed. That's exactly what you need to do to beat Dewalt, and that is exactly what happened. He ended up beating Dewalt on Butter, despite honestly what looked like was going to be getting boxed out of his natural expansion for a longer period of time. Great play.
Yeah, it was really well done, and I agree. I think that Dewalt had the advantage with the Goons, but the micro was just better for Zhanhun. Saved him the game for sure, but there were moments where I thought Dewalt might have it, but once that econ kicks in for Zhanhun, it's just really hard to catch up when you're down 12 workers, down 15 workers for the majority of the game. So nicely done from Zhanhun, but now we're going to be going into game 4, which means we're actually going to go into a break, and then we'll come back with game 4. So don't go anywhere.
don't know if you know, but this finger will start BSL semifinals today and BSL Grand Finals tomorrow. This finger. Or this finger. One of those fingers. Look at that. I'm so hyped. Zhanhun versus Dewalt. Ziki versus Miku. Best of 7. Be there. Zero PL Twitch. Be there and become super boss.
We are back, guys. Our score is currently 2-1. We'll be going into game 4 in just a second. And our fourth map is going to be Ascension. So, Diggity, what do you think we might see on Ascension here?
Wow. So I would almost want to say that open 3-gate again, or something along those lines. But honestly, after I feel like if I'm Dewalt going after Butter, after opening a 3-gate and having Zhanhun repel it, what do you do? So maybe for Dewalt's, honestly, I'm hoping to see Zhanhun either open 3-gate or maybe even go for some sort of DT, because we saw him go DT versus Bonnet, and that paid dividends. He actually just played fantastically. And also, Zhanhun now has some momentum rolling. He made a statement in that match. He's saying, I'm not just a speed bump for you to roll over on your way to the finals. You're not gonna, I'm here, and now I'm fired up, and now I'm ready to go. And so, yeah, I almost wonder if we're gonna see Zhanhun be the aggressor in this match, and Dewalt try to play a little bit more passive, play for more the 2-gate ops sort of build, or maybe something a little bit more macro-oriented.
Yeah, I want to see the 2-gate robo or 1-gate robo into 2nd gate, because it seems like that's been a really solid build throughout all of BSL. In fact, I think almost every time we've seen that build, it's ended up winning. So I would like to see that, but we may see an aggressive play. Could be the 3-gate. We saw Zhanhun pull it out and wasn't successful. I think I remember somebody telling me that 3-gate's not great on Ascension for whatever reason, but I can't remember exactly who that was. Again, we're going to look at the profile statistics. Dewalt, I want to see a first place finish from him on his profile at some point. Maybe ASL or BSL14 could be the season for him. But Zhanhun, he does not want to let that happen. He wants to be in the finals. He wants to be the one from China getting the first place finish, and he is looking like a real contender. And when we see this screen, that means our players are ready. It's time to get into game 4. It's going to be on Ascension. So in the bottom left, our red Protoss is Dewalt.
In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, we have Zhanhun.
Well, already I like Dewalt's position more than Zhanhun's. You have direct path into the main if you go for shuttle harassment, whereas Zhanhun would have to navigate to the center of the map, then hook around to the left side, and then come into the main. So I think we will most likely see some type of robo opener, because this seems to favor Dewalt in this position.
I would not be shocked to see Zhanhun go for that DT play again. And we'll see if it ends up catching Dewalt off guard. I think scouting... I'm trying to remember if we saw Dewalt also opt to not scout on this in the previous matches, or if he did in fact send out a probe scout. And I'm wondering if Zhanhun's going to dedicate a probe scout this time, because that could also be a significant factor. But really the map, the thing that keeps dominating my mind right now is how Zhanhun beat Bonnet. Even though Bonnet had that fantastic, incredible next level micro play to attack his own Dragoon with his Reaver, Zhanhun ended up winning the match just through straight macro. and getting some DTs and map control and things like that. And it's interesting because I almost feel like Butter and Ascension play similarly in the mid game, despite being very, very different maps, where because that third has that ramp leading into it, it is important to be able to have that same sort of pressure that you can apply in the mid game. And then beyond that, it's kind of like shenanigans to get in that position to start, just because of things being so wide open, because you have that gap you can shoot, because there can just be a lot of places to do a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, and if you get the high ground over the natural on the Dewalt side of the map, not only do you, of course, deny the third base and you make it difficult to move out, but you also all of a sudden shut down easy shuttle harassment into the main because you intercept it. So it could be heavy goon play from Zhanhun. We'll see what he wants to opt for. You want the DT. I want to see Robo from Dewalt. Now we do have both players. Okay, I thought that Zhanhun was going to go to the top side, but not the case. He is going to find Dewalt in the first position.
And it looks like Dewalt actually sent out a little bit of an earlier probe scout this time, but took a really odd pattern across the middle of the map rather than shooting the gap to the left, just to make sure that there weren't any proxies in the middle of the map. So the probe going to be able to wander in. Looks like it was a first Zealot built by Dewalt. I don't think there was a Zealot built on the opposite side for Zhanhun, so he might get these slight economic advantages.
Yep, range instantly started for Zhanhun. This will be the first time I've seen him have range advantage, I think, in any of his PvPs, and that's not just this series. He always loves to delay it as long as possible, so this may already be a tell that he wants to be the aggressive one. For now, not giving it away because probing his base.
And early aggression, especially if you're able to deny vision on Ascension, because of the Reaver play, because of a lot of those factors, I think it's even more important than on a lot of the other maps. Certainly, I think it plays a bigger factor than a map like, say, Eclipse or something along those lines. Looks like that initial probe scout is going to get wiped out from Dewalt, and that probe scout is going to be able to escape for Zhanhun.
Alright, well, if we're going to see a 3-gate, I think it needs to come down right now. But honestly, the probe count seems a little bit too high to be going for a 3-gate for Zhanhun. Meanwhile, probe count seems just fine for potential 3-gate from Dewalt, but instead that was definitely Robo from him that went down. And Zhanhun, he's floating a lot of resources right now. That may actually be a Nexus.
Yeah, it looks like we're actually going to see, so rather than going for DT, and this might be one of those psychological plays where, like, yeah, you watch that game versus Bonnet. So this time, although he's getting a Dragoon caught out of position with the Zealot, with making it an advantage as far as army, going to press this back. And this could be critical for Zhanhun because, first of all, he's trying, and I like what he's doing, he's trying to trail it absolutely to the north because he doesn't want that Zealot to shoot the inner gap to be able to see that natural expansion. And it looks like he might, it's hard to tell on the map with the blue there sometimes, but you can see he's kind of holding that in between position. But the longer Zhanhun can deny information and basically make sure Dewalt doesn't see that natural expansion, the better. And I like that he created that delay. He's got 3 Dragoons potentially in the way. Looks like this is going to be 2-gate Robo from Dewalt on the other side.
Yep, and this build that we're seeing from Zhanhun has been his win condition for a lot of games. I remember specifically seeing this on Monopoly a couple times, and once he gets this base up and running, oh man, is he a threat. And unfortunately for Dewalt there, he saw nothing. He saw 4 goons. That's nothing unusual because if we look at the Dragoon count from Dewalt, also 4 goons. So everything looks normal. He has no idea that this is a Nexus. And we know that that Nexus is about to complete. It's imperative that Dewalt is able to find it, but he's not able to.
Wow, and this is what I was talking about. Zhanhun bullying that Dragoon out of position. He has that range advantage. See if this probe is able to get to the other side and confirm a lack of a Nexus on this side. And this has to make Zhanhun smile. So able to move up, confirm that there's no Nexus there. Dewalt has no information. And now Dewalt's playing at a huge disadvantage. It looks like he is going to go Reaver into this, but he doesn't necessarily know whether Zhanhun went for a Nexus or not.
Yeah, and we know that delayed DT is kind of uncommon in PvP, so the fact that he sees no Nexus, I would say probably lends you to believe that this is 90% of the time just going to be Robo follow-up. So Zhanhun, he's going to move out. I did not see Robo, I didn't see Forge for him. He knows that he just needs to have a favorable engagement, let his eco kick in, and he'll be primed to take this game. But instead, both players have missed each other's army, and now it's going to get weird. Very weird, because Dewalt's army in a straight-up battle will win. Okay, now Dewalt smells
cutting
something.
This off. Dewalt's able to cut off some of these Dragoons. The Reaver is there in this engagement as well, so if he can carve out some damage, It looks like one Dragoon was caught on the low ground as well with the bit of scattering, but I think Dewalt got the better part of that exchange with a larger army. So I think from here, he's going to be able to bully forward potentially. Looks like, yeah, a lot of damage on those Dragoons. A pylon being dropped to the 6 o'clock position, potentially to see the Reaver, but that Reaver going right into the main. Looks like it's going to be able to drop. I'm not sure if it's going to get a clean shot or not, but certainly going to disrupt some of the economy here.
Well, he gets one probe. It's not bad. Not the greatest, though. But what he does see is there's 5 gateways. There's no way you can have 5 gateways unless you have another Nexus. But that also means that he's aware there's no robo. There's no heavy tech. So as long as his Reavers stay alive, he should have favorable engagement. So for now, Dewalt's going to back off, retreat into a better position, and look to see if he can ever find an opening into the main to do some harassment.
Yeah, Dewalt has to play some form of catch-up. Taking down that pylon to put Zhanhun in the red is actually pretty significant here, because that's going to allow him to find some room to macro forward, continue to build probes, and try to close that probe gap. He knows that that second Nexus was up for a much longer period of time, so he does have some economic damage that needs to be dealt. Moving forward, he needs to be careful. Looks like he does have an observer, and this is kind of the place to do it, is over that third to try to bully those Dragoons forward. Looks like there's no counter observer from Zhanhun right now to spot this, so this is where you can get kind of free poke shots. I think Zhanhun sees it. He might have to just completely exit out of this plateau area and cede it to Dewalt.
I don't like this position for Dewalt. Even though it looks good, how many units Zhanhun just actually has? Okay, now I really hate it. He's going onto low ground. That means he can get flanked in the back. Sure, he's on high ground here, but there's so much stuff in the back. I'm just imagining a massive flank coming in, but maybe this is the sweet spot. The Reavers are moving forward. That's a good shot into the back line, but remember, there's units in the back. They can get free shots onto these Reavers. He also has to control the shuttle, and this army just gets swamped.
The Reavers walking forward into the natural expansion to stay alive, and Dewalt engaging into the main, and then turning around and re-engaging for the troops that were coming for the pincer attack, and gets the better part of both engagements. And so his army stands, he's able to attack the natural expansion, and all of a sudden has a gigantic lead and might be able to take the Nexus down to the natural expansion.
Yeah, that did not go how I imagined it in my mind. I thought for sure that with the 360 surround, for sure those Reavers had to die, but not the case. The Reaver control, the shuttle control, immaculate, and now the Nexus is gone. Dewalt has Nexus lead. He's got tech lead. It's 5-gate Goon versus Reaver Goon. Well,
wow.
Goon don't beat that.
Looks like that Reaver is going to get taken out, but this is a huge deficit for Zhanhun. And those Dragoons continuing to pile forward. Honestly, I feel like Dewalt's overstepping his bounds right here. This is a close reinforcement point, but he knows better than I do because he's marching forward, micro-aiming these Dragoons, healing them out, and this is probably going to be GG right here. Honestly, from Dewalt, this looks Julius Caesar-esque.
Well, the Zealots are going to come and save the day for now. Well, maybe not. There's 2 Zealots versus 5 Goons. I think Zhanhun knows his fate. There's no way that he can salvage this game. He's going to go down 3-1. He still doesn't know if Dewalt has a Nexus or if he's all in, so he's going to continue to fight. I mean, the probe count is pretty much dead even for both players. If Dewalt was all in, maybe Zhanhun could stabilize, but we know that's not the case.
Wow. And he's walking those Dragoons into the natural expansion. He has a Reaver just in case there's a counterattack. He's going to be, even if Zhanhun pulls this out with these Zealots, he's going to be in such a huge deficit as far as a turnaround, because he still needs to get his second Nexus down. The Dragoons, actually, now thinking about it, I kind of like this. Throw the Dragoons, keep the troop count reset, continue to apply pressure. Probes coming off the line, battle probes to try to defend this. The Observer is still going to see everything, and this is more delayed mining time for Zhanhun, pulling those probes out. I love it when probes get kills, though, I gotta say, regardless. But Dewalt, resetting everything. He's now all of a sudden up 8 probes. He's got a natural expansion up. Zhanhun was floating a bunch of minerals, so maybe he's just going to try to redrop the Nexus, but yeah, he's in trouble now.
Yeah, and unbeknownst to Dewalt, he also ruined the gas income of Zhanhun. I don't even know if he has 3 probes on gas right now. It's so low. Yeah, look, he has 2 on gas, and that's obviously going to be a very bad thing for Zhanhun if it somehow gets to mid and late game. For some reason, I thought that mid pylon that we just saw at mid right was a triple Nexus from Zhanhun. He's got the money for it. I think he might actually have to go for some type of play like that. The pro's moving to the top mineral, so he may actually try and put down another Nexus. But there's double Reaver coming at him again, and that is going to be another Nexus up there. Look at him. He is trying to go for it. He knows he has to do something crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the only way back in this match is just try to get an additional Nexus, try to hide it. I like the pylon blockade from Dewalt recognizing that to go ahead and make it like, okay, well, it's going to be more delayed. And he's going to continue to apply pressure. And here's the thing, taking that Nexus in the upper right and knowing that you don't have map control and can cut this off, this is a big desperation move. Some units shooting the gap. They might be able, it looks like it got some additional fire, but the Reaver is now dropping, so Zhanhun just has to flee. So it looks like he's going to try to exit to the south, but it looks like Dewalt is going to continue to press forward. He's a little bit scattered, a little bit indecisive as where he wants to engage. Some units can reinforce from the gap here, but those Reavers cutting out, now they're getting swarmed and surrounded and obliterated. This almost looks like a hunt rather than an army engagement where Zhanhun's just trying to flee with what troops and they're just getting assailed.
Yeah, and Dewalt's not going to take the bait. He knows he can just end the game, so he's just going to counter, go straight into the natural. Remember, he's still got those Reavers, so they can just sit on the left side and prevent these goons coming in from the left. Instead, he's just going to unload the Nexus, try and get a shot off onto the probe, and there it is. There's GG, and all of a sudden, series is 3-1 in what looked like a good engagement, I thought, at the natural for Zhanhun, backfired completely.
Zhanhun had, and this is almost the flip of the previous game, where Zhanhun had the build order advantage, and Zhanhun was doing everything right, and I think he had the right idea, split the army, go for a pincer, eliminate the advantage of the Reavers, but instead, Dewalt saying, okay, you're going to split your troops, I'm going to dive into one force, wipe that out, and then I'm just going to turn around and take out that second force. And that's exactly what he did, and all of a sudden, the natural expansion's down, and you're out of this match, and just Dewalt, just commanding, like, especially, and that's what I do want to say is I'm wondering if it's nerves or something along those lines, because usually Zhanhun with his troop control is able to execute on those sort of troop movements. That's kind of, I would say, more towards his bread and butter, is being able to have those large swarms work out for him. But Dewalt, maybe he was expecting Dewalt to panic and try to back up into that attack force. Instead, Dewalt having that killer instinct, just diving in and wiping out that natural expansion.
Yeah, I think when you get in a position like that, there's no way to retreat. You just got to stand there and fight, and that was exactly what Dewalt did. And he got killer shots on his Reaver control and Reaver control. Amazing. Did not see that coming at all. But now we are one game away potentially from Dewalt moving into the finals for the second season in a row. He looks really strong right now, and the fact that he just beat Zhanhun with what I would say Zhanhun's strongest build, at least what he's shown in BSL so far, he's got to be feeling really confident going into Game 5. And Game 5 is going to be Monopoly, and we already know that there's a lot of shenanigans. Quark's already shown this. We know that there's been proxy Citadel in PvT. I would really like to see another DT opener from Dewalt try and just catch Zhanhun off guard, because if Zhanhun plays the same build, Robo was, I don't even know if Zhanhun built a Robo the entire game. Like, Dewalt's going to look at that replay and think like, whoa, dude, like, you didn't even account for any type of DT play. If I just go DTs, you insta-lose. So I would really like to see that from Dewalt.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that from Dewalt this game, because that has been a pattern in Zhanhun's play where he had, and I don't know if it's just on micro scouting or something, I don't know, sixth sense, game instinct, something along those lines, but there have been multiple matches where, yeah, he skipped Robo and he skipped Observer and has gotten away with it in many of those instances. And I don't know whether that's just straight luck, if he's just rolling dice or what. But yeah, I want to see if Dewalt can punish that this time, because he has a couple games to throw here. He's got a 3-1 advantage, so he can go ahead and take risks and close this out, where Zhanhun needs to play a little bit safer and make sure, well, we'll see if Zhanhun opts to do that, but he needs to play a little bit safer to try to stay in this series.
Yeah, I really do think we're going to see the same build that we just saw in Ascension, because this map is the first time I saw Zhanhun play a macro PvP, and he went for the exact build we just saw. So I think the chances of him doing it again, extremely high. And that's why I really want to see DTs. I think it's just a direct counter. But at the same time, the 6th map is Turbine. So I'm conflicted here because we haven't seen any Turbine games all season long. So our players are ready. It's time to get into Game 5. It is going to be on Monopoly. Okay, in the bottom left, our Chinese Protoss, it is Zhanhun.
In the top left, as the red Protoss, we have Dewalt.
Yep, now Dewalt got the top position. I think this is the ideal spot for mineral boosting. Would have to ask Scan how many spots can actually be boosted, but on Ascension you can boost like 3 mineral patches, and that's massive. Now the bottom side, I think only the rate 2 patches maybe can be boosted, but I could be wrong.
I'm also curious to see, this is one of those, so Monopoly has those 10 mineral patches in the main, and I think that's why they named it that way, Monopoly. So I'm almost wondering if Dewalt is going to try to play, he's keeping, I'm wondering if that close pylon is just, okay, we're going to mine as much as possible. We're going to try to play a little bit more macro-oriented, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him not send out that probe scout and try to rely on later scouts and other forms of Dragoons or Zealots.
We are just waiting to see how many gates are going to get put down. Is somebody going to be insane and put down a 12 Nexus? There is the 10 patches that you stated that may trigger somebody to get greedy, get frisky, put down the 12 Nexus, but not the case. There's the gateway, and just waiting to see where or if anybody's going to go into the second gate or gas.
Yeah, it looks like both players are going ahead and dropping somewhere. Neither player, opting to move out. And that's kind of an interesting factor on this map that I hadn't considered. It is a risk-reward thing of sending that probe scout out at any point in time because of the extra minerals that you can gain. It looks like this time Dewalt is sending out a probe scout earlier. Never mind, Zhanhun sending out it at the same time. So neither player are going to get the advantage here. But this does feel like mineral boost the map, right? Where it's like you have those 10 patches, so every little bit that you can push out and get just plays a big factor. Both players going to come across each other, scout 3 o'clock location. It's kind of the shell game here, where they know, okay, your expansion, your base isn't here, so we know where each other are equivalent.
Yeah, both players intercept each other's probes, and I think maybe not. Okay, Zhanhun is the one that builds a Zealot, so he's going to be able to block his ramp and prevent intel from getting inside, and I wonder how Dewalt will respond. I'm sure, I would imagine it's probably just going to be the Robo, but he doesn't necessarily have to.
Yeah, it's almost, you can feel kind of the tension right now. So that Zealot, let's see if it's going to get in position. I think Monopoly has a wide enough ramp where the probe still might be able, so you got the 2 eggs, but I think they can sometimes maneuver around to get through. We'll have to see in a moment. There looks like no, Dewalt's not even going to try. He's just going to try to hang out the natural expansion, steal a little bit of minerals. Man, that's so thematic, just a little bit of greed, little top hat on that probe right now. And now gonna test, but it looks like that is on hold position, but moving, and that's gonna let the probe in! So greedy, saw the probes there, saw the top hat, was like, I'm gonna take you out for that. And instead, the probe able to wander in, sees range, so able to confirm everything.
And that's a mistake you cannot make at this level of play. Absolutely cannot. Now, of course, this could be a fake, but he also confirms like all the pylon positioning, so that's going to be a tell that, well, there's no Citadel hidden anywhere, there's no Robo hidden anywhere, you're not really doing anything unusual. So this does just look like it's a normal opener, and that's because it is. We do see both players are up to reach 200 gas, and they are going to go for a mirrored build. It's going to be the Robo follow-up.
So it's going to be mirrored builds, potentially going to come down to micro versus micro. The first Zealot burst for Zhanhun means there's a slight probe lead for Dewalt, so he's going up 2 probes because he skipped that first Zealot. And now the Dragoon's fanning out, just making absolutely sure there's no proxies. I kind of like that play on Dewalt. He knows that Zhanhun might want to play a little bit more risky, and now we have so obs into 3 gate for Dewalt.
I think Dewalt has learned his lesson that this guy likes to take a Nexus after his gate Robotech. So he's decided to say, okay, well, those 400 minerals, those aren't goons. So I'm just going to match your Reaver count, match potentially your initial goon count, but slowly over time, I'm going to build up a higher and higher goon count and maybe overrun you. So Dewalt's going to be the one trying to get the killing blow, and Zhanhun's going to have an amazing engagement, because if he doesn't, this is his tournament life at stake. He has to win this single fight outside of his natural, otherwise he's probably going home.
And this is actually also critical. I like the Dragoons being fanned out in this instance and going ahead and killing that scouting probe. Looks like there is going to be an observatory behind this, but this is going to be a much smaller gateway count. This isn't going up against 2 gate. This is 3 gate going up against 1 gate with an observer first for Zhanhun. So yeah, he microed his way out of this previously on Butter. Let's see if he can do it again on Monopoly, but it is going to take a lot of work to try to stop Dewalt. He's coming in like a steamroller.
3 gate in full force right now. There's that Nexus, and there's just a single gate. Support bay, what's the timing for Dewalt? Is it matching? Is it faster? Support bay is just now going to complete for Zhanhun. The goon count right now seems to be pretty even, especially with the Zealot mixed in. But we know, well, actually, this doesn't have to be a Reaver follow-up. It could just be Observatory.
Dragoon's getting a little bit mixed up. Dewalt starting to press forward. There's not a lot of troops on the front. Dewalt is setting up to potentially take his Nexus behind this if he doesn't like what he sees. The Observer Shimmer sees the Dragoons incoming. The Dragoons do need to fan out. They don't want to run into that concavity. So, but it looked like Zhanhun tempting forward a little bit. Dewalt going ahead and repositioning momentarily. Maybe he's going to wait for reinforcements. Pecking away, takes out the Observer, which is huge, and now can see the full army, and he's barreling in, sees the Nexus. He's got to know he's got troop advantage now. Needs to make it happen, but he pulled back those 2 Dragoons completely out of that fight for a good period of time. That might give some room for Zhanhun, but Zhanhun right now has his work cut out for him. He's got a micro against all of it, against overwhelming forces.
Okay, it looked like a favorable trade for Zhanhun, but now with the reinforcements, it's going to be Dewalt pushing in. However, the Reaver is out, but remember, this is Monopoly, where oftentimes you see the Reaver bug out. Look at this spread on the goons. He's done it. He's gonna jump on top of this Reaver, and once that falls, that's the lifeline of Zhanhun. Luckily for DeWalt, all the shots connect too while they were going uphill. But look at the stutter step micro from Zhanhun. Those 2 goons are still alive. He eliminates all the goons of DeWalt, and the Zealot is dishing out so much damage.
Oof. Okay, so you got 3 gates of reinforcements going to come up momentarily. Dewalt needs to... So here's the thing. Dewalt does have his Nexus building in the background. Zhanhun playing very aggressively, moving the probes regardless of knowing the reinforcements and feeling like he can just bully the things back. So Zhanhun, it looks like potentially defending again. Next Reaver out. So despite losing that Reaver, Dewalt pulling out, he's still poking his head in here. But Zhanhun defends off 1 gate robo. Great play. But oddly, despite all of that, economies directly stabilized. Zhanhun has that Reaver out. I'm not sure how many gateways he has behind this just yet, but looks like he's stabilized and the game's going to reset.
Yeah, but Zhanhun does have that Reaver advantage right now. It's already out, but no shuttle advantage, so he has to be careful because we know DeWalt already has a shuttle. His Reaver's going to be coming out soon, and that is speed for Zhanhun, so he's looking to put on some counterplay pretty soon. But as you mentioned, both players have their Nexus up and running. Probe count is even. It's 35 to 35. And this time around, it's going to be Dewalt with better map presence, better map vision. You can see he's already putting pylons around his base, pylon at the mid left. So we've gotten to this state in the game from different angles, but now he's stabilized.
Unfortunately for Dewalt, I feel like it's less of a factor on Monopoly. Monopoly is one of those bases where it's a little bit easier to defend your natural expansion because of just how the architecture works, where the units end up funneling up, and as long as you have Reavers in position to take those initial shots, they can wipe it out. There is the Observer over that corner. It looks like it's Dewalt realizing he's going to go ahead and back off. He needs to be careful with that shuttle out on the front edge. But let's see if Dewalt can apply some pressure. He is down a Reaver here. And this is kind of a risky scenario, taking some shots on that shuttle. That Reaver took a big hit, and the shuttle and Reaver are gone. So now Zhanhun feeling very comfortable, and Dewalt flubbing a bit of micro here.
Yeah, that was a big misstep. Losing the Reaver, losing the shuttle, losing robo time. It's going to take so long to rebuild those units, and he only has 1 robo. It's not like he has 3 where he can instantly rebuild the shuttle and the Reaver. So now Walt's going to have to be on the back foot. And remember, Zhanhun was getting speed shuttles, so you know he's looking to be moving out in just a few seconds. There's the shuttle now, and now Dewalt's got to be very careful to not get hit in his main and take devastating probe losses. For now, the probes are in a fantastic, or the goons are in a fantastic position, but easily he could get picked apart.
Zhanhun actually looking pretty strong. I gotta tip my hat for the defense earlier. I honestly thought that was just going to be game win. Now he's got an economic lead. He's up 4 probes. And this is the thing that Zhanhun, when he's won games, exactly how he won them, is go ahead and, yeah, I'll do a little bit of picky microfight here and there. I'll keep you distracted, and then I'm just going to macro like a beast behind it. And right now, the supply count just about even, but the economy for Zhanhun looking strong. He's taking, I don't like this position for Zhanhun. Looks like he's going to lose an Observer for free, but he still does have that shuttle. Looks like cycling around that corner. Dewalt does have some defenses here, but he's been lower on the Observer count, and so I guess picking up that Observer pretty significant here. And I'm worried about what the shuttle can do. Probe, luckily, sees the shuttle and this Reaver incoming.
Yep, now I think you can scoot behind the natural into the main if Zhanhun really, really wanted to get in there. But he is going to back off with his shuttle for now. It is not synced up with this army, but this is the entirety of Zhanhun's army. So Dewalt, He picks off like one goon, and now he's going to have to retreat. But you know what this does? It opens up the main. All of the units are outside of the natural right now, and Zhanhun knows it, so he goes directly to the main. And look, Dewalt's already pulling probes because he knows it's coming.
Yeah, and this is more economic disruption. Zhanhun just is fantastic in these sort of engagement. He's like, okay, I know what I'm going to have to do to go ahead, but he's going to lose the shuttle in the midst of this. 5 Dragoons on top of it. 1 volley lands. 2nd volley hits. It looks like the 3 Dragoons in the back, not quite able to get in position. But this is more economic delay. All of a sudden, Dewalt down to 38. And this is starting to look, again, like that game on Butter, where Zhanhun defending and now surging ahead.
Yeah, I have no idea how he didn't end up killing that shuttle, and barely it's going to get away. But supplies are still dangerously close. It's 114 to 108. Still decent worker count for Dewalt, but he is trailing just, well, it's not slightly. He's down 10, but in 2 base scenario, it's not the biggest of deals. And he's going to be the one to put down a 3rd Nexus?
This feels risky. This feels like, I'm not sure if I want to call this. Okay, no, he's just moving that probe out. The shuttle gets caught midfield, and that's 2 Reavers down. Now all of a sudden, there's breathing room for Dewalt.
Yeah, now he can put down a 3rd Nexus if he wants to. Doesn't seem like that probe was intending to put down a 3rd Nexus. Instead, he's situated at the mid-right, trying to get a little bit more vision on the map. Another shuttle already set up with 2 more Reavers for Zhanhun. I'm a bit surprised that he hasn't taken a 3rd base, just knowing how he plays from what we've seen in the BSL. It seems like he would be the one willing to take a 3rd base, but instead we're going to have a massive engagement on the left side. Who's going to get the first shot off onto these shuttles? It looks like Zhanhun's going to unload first.
So Zhanhun gets there first. He's able to bully the rest of the troops. It looks like Dewalt now resurfacing. He picks off the Observer, trying to get little wins as he can, drawing back. That's 3 Reavers, though. It looks like some Zealots going to get killed on the trailing point. Dewalt with a larger army because of the difference. And actually, here's what, so little engagements like that. And then we saw in the background a bunch of supply added on for Zhanhun. That's what Zhanhun does. He just moves his troops around. Yeah, he loses a few troops here and there, but he just macros like a beast behind it. Now we'll see if Dewalt... Oh, those Reavers exposed, though. Can't afford that. 1 Reaver taking massive shot. 1 down. The shuttle's gone. The 2nd Reaver looks like it's wiped out, but a Reaver's been taken out on Dewalt's side. And Zhanhun, with the closer reinforcement point, wants a full engage. The Reaver's gone. The Reaver on the low ground looks like it's going to be able to hit some Dragoons from behind. Dewalt is now trailing from the left. It looks like Zhanhun just has more forces. Some Dragoons look like they want to try to push the force in. Get some damage done with that Reaver. That Reaver's exposed. It's not long for life. And this is, again, because Zhanhun cycled back and did another macro cycle where it looks like Walt potentially just, he just macroed behind it and had a stronger economy. Zhanhun doesn't need to win these micro fights. Yes, he loses the Reaver early, but it doesn't matter. He just has too many troops, and he's pressing forward and surging forward, and that's going to allow him to establish that 6 o'clock location.
Yeah, Zhanhun's got 7 gateways versus, I think, 6. The Citadel was much faster for him. You can see that he was able to flood the Zealots with the speed. It was just a flat-out better unit comp for Zhanhun, and now he has a massive lead. He's up 30 supply, 7 worker advantage. He's taking his 3rd Nexus. DT got out again, and it's probably going to delay the 3rd base like it did on Butter. Look at the natural, completely open, no observer, no cannons. Just this single DT may trigger the all-in, or may actually trigger the GG. Zhanhun really starting to run away with this game, especially if it can get into the probe line.
Yeah, this is where Zhanhun wins games, is just, those like minor engagements. Yeah, okay, maybe he loses a Reaver or 2, but it doesn't matter because he ends up having 5, 6, 10 Dragoons over his opponent with those engagements and with those troop movements. And right now, the DT hunting, trying to find something. That 6 o'clock, I think, is up and established, so that's going to be 2 base versus 1 base. So Dewalt starting to fall economically behind. And it looks like an additional gas also being tacked on, which is going to be great as they're moving into Templar tech in those kind of mid-game 3 units. The Zealot's able to wander up and confirm that there's no 3rd from Dewalt. And Dewalt's army looks scattered and looks just scattered. And I'm not sure what Dewalt can honestly do at this stage to get back in this match. He's now nearly down 40 supply.
Yeah, and I don't even think Zhanhun necessarily needs to harass. Just go for the killing move. I don't even know if Dewalt has +1 weapon, which is a huge breakpoint. Instead, he is going to go for the harassment onto the probe line. He's going to get maybe 10 or so, and the shuttle gets away. Oh, no, it doesn't.
Shuttle gets picked off, but he completely emptied the natural expansion. Some Zealots now in the main. There's not a lot of minerals left, so it looks like the probe's going to be able to transfer. And this is actually a funny situation again, where I'm not sure how much this is going to hurt Dewalt's position. It's more just kind of like more nail. It's kind of the foot shoving the guy into the mud a little bit more, because he's basically very close to just being at one base anyway. So 33 probes for one base is fine. But Zhanhun's going to be running on 2 bases, and he's starting to run away with this match again, just showing that I love movie-esque macro.
I think Dewalt just has to go for it. And he's down too much. You can see he doesn't even have speed on his zealots. He just has to try and make something happen. It's too much to overcome at this point. Maybe he can catch the units out of position. You know, Monopoly has kind of narrow chokes. Like, if you can get favorable engagement, the Reavers may be able to reign supreme, but the fact that I see multiple Templars out means that that's probably not going to happen. But he does have Reaver advantage right now. He needs to be careful not to lose the shuttle, though. He unloads. He gets blanketed by 2 storms in an instant. All of a sudden, shuttle's at half health. Reavers at half health. The shuttle falls, and it's just too much. There's no way
I think
you can overcome that.
So Psystorm in the back edge, Dewalt's making his best out of it, but honestly, this is just overwhelming troops plus reinforcement advantage. Psystorm now being dropped all over everything. The Reaver gonna die under lightning potentially, and there's G from Dewalt. And it is, I feel like it is apropos that you have Zhanhun winning on Monopoly, the map that is, you know, it's like, okay, big money, big macro, and that's the map he wins on. And now he's staying in the series 3-2 and warming up again. Yeah, I honestly feel like you're like, okay, you're not just going to be able to roll me over. You're not going to get the 4-1 and showing some life signs here. And again, if I was Dewalt, I would be like, okay, maybe I can't beat this guy with early 3-8, early aggressive macro play, because that's twice where it looked like Dewalt had the build order advantage and was in a position to careen and just win the map outright through just having superior troop counts. And instead, Zhanhun repelling him twice now and ending up with the macro lead.
Yeah, I thought that Dewalt was going to go for a Reaver play instead of the fast observer, but he played the more safer play, getting the observer, getting more vision. It could have been a game-winning move if he had gotten the Reaver out instead, but you know, he knows more about PvP than I do, and it is what it is. But we do put another point on the board for Zhanhun, and you know what this means, Daisy? We've done it. We're going to see a Turbine game. That is the 6th map. I can't believe it. Finally, it only took about 100 games to get here, but here we are. Finally, we're going to have Turbine.
Turbine for the first time, and that'll be interesting to see. And on this map, actually, I think this is an opportunity for Zhanhun to even things up, because Turbine, you have that protected natural expansion, and it's a good opportunity to play just a straight-up macro match in PvP, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and funny enough, even though this is a unique map, I would say probably the Protoss player that has played Optimizer the most is going to have the advantage here, because, you know, Optimizer has a lot of intricacies. Your build gets sped up quite a bit, and Turbine is set up where you get a free base in your main. Like, you don't even have to expand to your natural. So the person that has had more experience on maps like Optimizer, I think, should be able to streamline their build better. But also at the same time, because you're attacking uphill, could we see weird strategies? Like, you get free 2 gas. You can use that for really high-tech units ASAP. I am curious how both players are going to open up here. I mean, maybe somebody opens 2 gates, like, nah, you're probably going to 12 Nexus, I just want to end it.
I also wonder, Zhanhun's strength oftentimes does seem to be those troop movements. In fact, I think Dewalt respected that a lot, despite something I noticed in the previous matches when he was down on observers, which was also, he had some probes out on the map just to try to spot where Zhanhun's army was, which was actually exacerbating the economic lead that Zhanhun had. But I think that shows you how much he respects Zhanhun's troop movement. On Turbine, you have those big ramps in the middle and kind of in that 3-spoke, which is where it gets that name, Turbine. But at the same time, there's not a lot of, you don't have like tunnels and a lot of valleys and a lot of areas to do kind of the multi-pronged troop movement. So I don't know whether that's going to play to Zhanhun's advantage or not. I do wonder if I wonder how much that middle ramp spoke is going to play at the game here, and how much Psystorm, that's the other critical thing, is Psystorm over that 3rd wall. You can kind of sneak it, because you can go ahead and drop High Templar, or just along, get shuttle drops behind that edge. There's a lot of territory you got to cover in the middle of the map. It's weird because it's like your bases are free, but then you got to hold on to them. And thus far, I think Zhanhun's had more of an advantage in those series. So Dewalt might have some trouble with him on this map.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And let's see if Dewalt can close it out, or are we going to have a tied score? We're going to get our first look at Turbine on Game 6. Okay, in the bottom middle, bringing it back 3-2. It is Zhanhun.
In the upper right, as the red Protoss, we have Dewalt. Kind of
Alright, well,
sad, actually, because we have those little like TVP, whatever, and it's like 0 across the board on Turbine. And we're still not going to get a tick on that because it's a PvP. It's always 50%.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think, legitimately the first game we saw all season on Turbine. So absolutely no intel on what either player wants to opt for. As we stated, there is another base in your main. So you can literally just hold your ramp and have a free natural. So we'll see if anybody wants to get greedy, go for the 12 Nexus. Is anybody willing to just risk it all in 2-gate here and just try to end the game ASAP? You stated Dewalt has a game to throw here, which he technically does. It would put him at 3-3, but I have a feeling that if he was to go for that and lose, that would be a bit disheartening. So I don't think he will be the one to risk going for a 2-gate, but maybe.
Not sure I like 2-gate on this map either, because there is that ramp. You've got kind of that Sutton colonies on the way. I guess you can try to open up those Sutton colonies and play from there. That is one unusual feature of this map, is that you have the I mean, there's a lot of unusual features of this map. The in-base are protected, but also the fact that there's the Sutton colonies instead of eggs that you need to clear out from the main. It looks like Walt's going to scout the upper left-hand corner first, try to get eyes on Zhanhun as quickly as possible. Zhanhun looks like he's going to send his probe to the exact same location, so both players going to get last scout.
Yep, we see that this was, I think, a 9-gate opener from Dewalt. Meanwhile, well, I mean, maybe not. Dewalt's, well, yeah, I think it was, because his gateway seems to be much faster. First Zealot is coming out. Second pylon for both players, and it seems that they are just going to go into their natural ASAP. Dewalt gets in. He does confirm that, hey, you don't have gas, so I know that this is going to be another natural. Also, no gateway. But the Zealot is out in time, but he does not block the ramp.
So yeah, I thought that Zealot was there for a ramp block, and actually it's critical that that probe got in the base earlier, because that's going to make it much more difficult to hold the ramp, which means that Zealot might be able to get in base, and we see a Manor Pylon, I think. Yeah, a Manor Pylon blocking out, and that Zealot's going to be preoccupied, which is going to allow this other Zealot to go ahead and march in, and also Dewalt going to go ahead and disturb this probe. Yeah, wow. Dropping another Pylon at the natural expansion just to make sure that Zhanhun can't just go ahead and get a quick Nexus lead.
I didn't think about that until I saw the probe actually in his base. That's going to be a Manor Pylon blocking the Nexus. Zhanhun going to do the same thing, but Zealot already into the mineral line. However, it's taken heavy hits. And he does, I would say he needs to back off, but he's going to try and make something happen. He gets a couple connections onto the probes, but really good control right here, saving all of them.
Oh, looks like one probe went down, but that's 2 Zealots versus 1. So a lot of disruption from Dewalt early. And but it looks like there was a Manor Pylon from both players, and having those 2 Zealots out from Zhanhun means he's going to get that Pylon down potentially earlier, and I think get that Nexus up a little bit, so a little bit more streamlined as far as things go. Dewalt is going to be up a probe. Now it looks like a 3rd Zealot and a 4th Zealot being built by Zhanhun, and that's a big Zealot dedication early.
Oh, he didn't block it. He didn't actually block the natural with his Pylon. I mean, it might be off-center just a bit, but you can put an additional probe there, and I'm sure the mining will still be A-okay, especially with both players building a ton of probes. Meanwhile, I guess the game's going to stabilize now. We're going to go into a simulator for both players. There's still that pesky probe alive in Zhanhun's base, getting full intel off.
What the other thing that's throwing me off here is Zhanhun, he's got 4 Zealots out here. 4 Zealots wandering absolutely everywhere. And potentially, we'll see if Dewalt can go ahead and get that cybernetics core out, but I don't see a lot of troops to deal with that on Dewalt's side of the map as of yet. Dewalt with the 2 probe lead, but that's a lot of Zealots to dedicate early, and that really slows your economy down. Cybernetics
is about halfway done for Zhanhun. Nexuses are coming out for both players. Meanwhile, I think the cybernetics timing is pretty much matching for Dewalt. Now, interesting enough, both players going for gas ASAP at their natural, so they're able to really pick up the pace with their gas income, despite having a very delayed gas in the initial stages of the game.
Wow, this probe, I feel like this probe is just like a buzzing gnat around Zhanhun's head. He's so frustrating. Another Manor Pylon at the natural. Wow. These Zealots have been chasing this probe forever. This probe and you can just see the frustration trying to get a blockade with that probe along the lower corner. And Dewalt has just been wandering here forever and just been meandering across the space, getting all sorts of information. Another Zealot got in? How did that even happen?
It killed 2 probes also, and you can see there's a big discrepancy in the gas income now for Dewalt versus Zhanhun. I mean, there's a massive gas lead. It's 200 gas. Now it's even, but I think that just went into a robo for Dewalt, and oh no, it went into a robo and Templar Archive, and I didn't see a single robo at all for Zhanhun. In fact, all I saw from him was range.
It looks like, oh, and Zhanhun's opening up his front right now. He's taking down, this is, how did Dewalt manage that? It felt like Zhanhun was falling apart a little bit. There was just an incredible amount of information that Dewalt was able to hold absolutely forever with that probe in his opponent's base. He's well saturated, his main is natural. He's got, now the probe's just saturating that gas. And I don't know that Zhanhun's going to be in a position to deal with these DTs, and he's already opened up his front. Maybe he can crash through. The DTs are going to be there to repel the attack regardless, and I'm wondering if Dewalt's going to dedicate 1 DT again to go across the map to end the game, and leave 1 to stay on defense. But right now, a big army lead, I think, for Zhanhun, but he's got to walk up a ramp to press through with DTs building in the back corner. Actually, the question is, are the DTs going to be in time to save Dewalt here?
I think they will be. They're basically done. Zhanhun just barely missing his moment. Now, he may be thinking like, okay, why do you only have 1 goon on high ground? Shouldn't you have more than this? First 2 DTs are out. Is he going to save them for the drop? The answer is yes. And now he's going to be able to get across the map very, very quickly. The robo is done. The observatory is about to finish, but no observer started just yet. So he should be able to rack up a few kills.
And that's, wow. So first of all, this is going to allow him to get to high Templar tech in the midfield. We got 4 gateways here back for Zhanhun. Let's see if Zhanhun can defend this, actually. He'll be in a good position. I think he realized the DT are there, scrambled to get those troops back. He's got a lot of territory to cover between the main, but Dewalt is already able to unload the troops. And that shuttle's going to escape as well, disrupting the gas, which is critical here. Keep in mind, because High Templar are going to be, that's going to allow High Templar in the mid game. And there's also that, I love that a little bit earlier, distractionary probe moving to the north. So the DTs were going to be free to go, basically keeping Zhanhun pressing. It looks like finally that observer spawning right on top. But Dewalt, keep in mind with that probe, how annoying he was for such a long period of time. Dewalt now with a significant probe lead. He's got a tech lead. He's in a great position to close out this series.
He's already gotten something like 4 probes. He's just running away from this observer, trying to maximize the amount of damage he can get. That's another probe gone. Maybe he can snipe another one on the gas, another one on the gas. He gets 2. He gets 3 additional probes. It's 49 probes to 39, and this is going to trigger an attack from Zhanhun. But again, how does he attack? Look at this. You just can't get up into the base of Dewalt. It's just such a tiny choke that it's impossible to attack there. He also has another DT hidden out on the map that he may be able to sneak by.
Yeah, I think this is going to set Zhanhun all in. I would be shocked to see him build another probe. He just needs to build troops and try to run Dewalt over. Now, Dewalt does have a cannon there. He's got a big probe lead. He's got a lot of gateways. He's matching on gateways. He's in a fantastic position right now. And it looks like, yeah, there was a probe that was... And more probes are dying someplace. Are you kidding me? It looks like there's another DT that's going to land in the natural expansion, pseudo main, of Zhanhun, and more probes dying, and that gas still has... There's still an empty gas here at the natural. This is just crazy. Dewalt putting on a clinic now.
Got 4 kills, 5 kills, and there was no reaction from Zhanhun at all. Like, he didn't counterattack, he didn't do anything. So, okay, what's this? Is he going to cannon contain him?
That's a play. So maybe going to go for a cannon and contain, try to get the 3rd, and it looks like, and yeah, he's blockading. He's putting some pylon blocks at other locations. I'm wondering if Zhanhun wants to try to sneak into this by taking a quick 3rd and boxing Dewalt in, but Dewalt, he's got Reavers, he's got shuttles, he's got +1 weapons, he's going to have a Psystorm. There's actually already a 3rd Nexus being built, it looks like, at the 1 o'clock location. So, yeah, I think Dewalt's in firm control of this match.
Oh, wow. He's going to find this 3rd base. I didn't think he would find this, but nice scout from Zhanhun, but it's going to draw units out of position potentially, and look at this. It is a cannon contain, and Dewalt sees it, so now he may be feeling obligated to push out, but, you know, he still has his Nat running. He doesn't necessarily need another base just yet, and instead he's going to counterattack with a single zealot. There is one one single goon for defense right now. And again, this probe line is going to get shut down.
2 Zealots dropping to go ahead and disrupt that. And honestly, that a Reaver can just attack the Dragoon potentially. More, yeah, trying to scatter a big hit on the probe line. It looks like that shuttle is going to get taken out, so this is going to get wiped out. And this is actually the one harassment that Dewalt is going to be able to do in the midst of this. So Zhanhun still with the Shatter Economy. The Zealot's still getting kills somehow. And wow, that Zealot, actually both Zealots doing work. But yeah, Zhanhun going for kind of a desperation cannon contain, but he's got to do it from a point of an inferior economy. So maybe if Zhanhun can somehow pick off Reavers, get this cannon contain up and rolling, and get that third before Dewalt, he can sneak back into this match, getting some free hits. But Dewalt's economy is just absolutely stupendous. He's got a supply lead. The the Dragoons overextending a little bit, walking up that ramp, and a huge hit is that Scarab going and connecting with that Dragoon on the low ground. Double Robo now for Dewalt, realizing he can economically get away with it.
Yeah, double Robo all the way, and he's going to try and push into these cannons. It's hard when you're coming down a ramp like that, but at the same time, Reavers have more range than the goons and the cannons, so he can just fire and run away. I would really like to see him, oh wow, all of those Dragoons connected. I'd really like to see him put a battery down like he did on Butter, try and heal up these Reavers every time he pokes down and takes damage. But with the double shuttle, what's funny here is like basically a shuttle is equal in cost to a cannon. So think about it, there's like 10 cannons at the natural right now. He builds 8 shuttles and just counterattacks. That would be hilarious. Just go for like a mini recall like we see in PvT.
So Zhanhun's play right now is just make sure, like, keep eyes. Ooh, Dragoon's gonna intercept both shuttles. It's gonna unload though, and actually this might be a sufficient enough attack force with these Zealots to go ahead and press these Dragoons out, so it doesn't matter, particularly with all of the troops being dedicated. Dewalt gonna be able to wander up. It looks like he's gonna be able to take out that Reaver. However, this is now troops that are potentially not defending the front. It looks like the Dragoon's taking a lot of damage right here, and some Zealots have managed to sneak out and march around. Dewalt, though, he can't just sit back and let Zhanhun do what he wants to do. In the middle of this, the Zealots actually getting all the way back up to the main somehow and marching up. It looks like there's plenty of Dragoon force to go ahead and engage right there. Dewalt with the supply lead, Zhanhun with the map position lead. This, I think Turbine is allowing Zhanhun to sneak and stay potentially in this match, actually, because of just the weird architecture of it. It looks like this is what I wanted to see earlier, is Dewalt elevating some troops out to go ahead and take position across that third, to maybe go ahead and establish that third before Zhanhun's able to really do anything to punish it.
Yeah, but he needs to hurry in an elevator again, and that's exactly what he's doing. The shuttles are very low health. One of them almost gets taken down, but not before they can unload all of their cargo. Zealots in the mix too, so this is going to be very hard for Zhanhun to deal with. 3 Zealots left over versus 4 goons. Those Zealots are going to win that fight. He's loading up some more army, this time to the bottom side of the map. Somehow Zhanhun expects it, but he's just too slow, just barely out of position.
And does he have troops to... Okay, he's got 4 Dragoons staged there at the natural expansion at the very least. And a lot more. He's got so many troops dedicated at that location. Is Dewalt going to go for it anyway? And is he going to sneak out with those shuttles? So wandering in, there's all those troops now diving in on this. 1 Reaver, 2 Reavers unload to still do this, but I honestly feel like this might be a misstep. Still able to get a lot of damage done. And still able to get a lot of Dragoon kills as it's still alive, disrupting this natural expansion once again.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of kills onto the goons, but the problem is he's still not outside of his base. There's still 10 cannons there. He needs a way to get out.
And actually, Zhanhun now taking his third, and with all this harassment, that's actually leaving additional minerals potentially for Zhanhun. So Dewalt does need to go out. He's got a huge supply lead, but he needs to capitalize and do something with it. 2 Reavers now free on the low ground. Looks like a single Dragoon engaging a cannon, but this is a lot of resources that Zhanhun dedicated to cannons on the front that he's potentially going to lose basically for free, trying to reinforce. That third is coming online, so Zhanhun's still trying to make a game of it, and I like that he's fighting it out despite everything that's happened. That really shows the tenacity here. Those Dragoons looking for an opportunity to pounce, but now Dewalt's starting to sneak forward. He's also got Psystorm right there, and that could be a huge factor. Psystorming the lower Dragoons rather than the higher, though, which may allow that Reaver to get exposed, that 1 Reaver being taken out. Dewalt needs to actually pull back. This is too many. If he just tries to careen his army in, he might end up just losing this battle just because those cannons are doing so much damage.
Those cannons are doing a lot of damage, but at the same time, not all the cannons are firing. It's only like 2 or 3. The Reavers are doing work and dealing a lot of damage. He needs to hit those cannons in the back line right there. Big connection. 40 supply lead still for Dewalt, but that was a decent trade for Zhanhun. The problem for him, though, is he's Gateway Man. He has no tech. He has no Reavers. He has no Templars himself. It's pretty much pure goon at this point, pure goon cannon. And Dewalt has killed so many cannons that now I think he's eventually going to take this third base.
This is reminiscent actually of previous games, but now a complete reverse situation where Zhanhun is now down to 31 probes versus 51. Dewalt now sneaking forward. There are no troops left to defend this pylon and these cannons. That means Dewalt potentially can go ahead and grab his third as he wants. However, his main's mined out, and mined out a lot earlier, so he does need to get this third, and he's actually a little bit hurt on resources here. As you can see, he's got to, remine, and not a lot, it's actually kind of a desperation situation where Dewalt has an economic lead, but that third base is still here. And Zhanhun, if he can hold on, if he can just hold on somehow with the inferior troop count, with the inferior probe count, that looks like some distance mining happening for Dewalt right here. Maybe Zhanhun can get back in this match. But right now, Dewalt looks like he's potentially sneaking forward. And actually, gotta say, Zhanhun has looks like a decent-sized attack force there on the ground. Yeah,
if you get rid of the 22 probe difference, I mean, look at it. It's 96 to 68, so that puts pretty much army value at around 70 supply for Dewalt. And I would say that if there is a good surround with the goons, Zhanhun could definitely win this fight, especially if he can pick off the shuttle. Now, I don't know if... Wow, okay, there's the answer there. Goons can range the probes from the other side of the minerals, and this base could be shut down. It's going to force an engagement. The goons not able to catch the Reaver. Zealots are streaming in, and there's just way too many Zealots here. He's going to have to turn around.
And now I'm wondering if it's going to be a counter situation. Some Dragoons pocketing in underneath, though. Maybe going to want to work and pick on the Nexus. Does Dewalt see it? I don't know that Dewalt sees it. Okay, now he sees it. He's moving back. Some more probes being picked off, and Zhanhun doing a great job of doing the same thing to Dewalt that Dewalt was doing to him earlier. It looks like some of those Dragoons going to get cut off. Dewalt shifting those troops to go ahead, but this might end up with a pincer situation. He doesn't have Reaver support, so Zhanhun now barreling up, and Zhanhun just doing what he does. Fantastic troop positioning all over the place, keeping Dewalt off balance, and really denying mining at that third base, which is giving Zhanhun, despite being behind on probes, superior economy, but it doesn't matter. The Reaver is there at the third. The probe is getting shut down here.
Yeah, but I don't think this is actually the correct move because Dewalt's third base is going to get shut down. And remember, Zhanhun still has his main in not mining because of the harassment. Dewalt must save this base. Otherwise, he's going to run out of money. And you need Scarabs. You need money to build Scarabs. That's a fantastic Storm. It might just be too big of a tech differential here with the Reaver and Storms.
This is turning into a really tight match. Zhanhun with the map positioning and just having these Dragoons all over the place has been able to shut down this third continually. Right now, Dewalt is not mining. His main's mined out, his natural's mined out, and Zhanhun still has position, and he's mining basically because of all that harassment off three bases, so he's more troops to potentially reinforce. And Dewalt doesn't have vision, he doesn't have position to go over that wall. He does have High Templar, more Reavers moving out, but Dewalt needs to hurry up. But Zhanhun, if you just look at the flat supply count, has caught up in this match.
Yeah, there's a single DT though, and there's no detection at all for Zhanhun right now. So he is going to be able to get his base up and running. However, that DT snuck across the map and is hitting to the third base. The observer is out, so he will be able to try and shut down this mineral line. Look how many Dragoons it is. Now, it all comes down to this. We're going to have a massive engagement while also Zhanhun's probe line is getting ransacked right now. Bottom side Reavers are getting taken down, but the top side is holding strong. Probe count down to 24 for Zhanhun. He has no reaction. He still doesn't realize just yet.
Yeah, it looks like that third is being emptied. The Dark Templar, yeah, there's no observer. That Nexus being worked on. However, Zhanhun, it looks like he's just getting better troop positioning out of this. Dewalt, without microwing, it looks like he's falling behind, so it's still anybody's match.
No, the shuttle.
The shuttle's taken out, the Reavers are gone. The second Reaver is getting hit on the low ground. Looks like it's going to be able to pocket, take them out. There's still two Reavers to the south. But right now, all of a sudden, Dewalt's behind the supply. Keep in mind, that's 40 probes. So Dewalt, without mining, without anything else, that third's gone, but Zhanhun still has a standing army.
Dewalt has he has a lot of Scarabs, but look how many goons there are. First Reaver falls, second Reaver's gonna fall. There's so many, there's an overwhelming amount of goons. I can't even believe it. Zhanhun is gonna steal this game. Walt, he had such a big lead, I thought, but now he's not mining. That's it. He just exits because he's ran out of money. I can't believe it.
What a game. I can't believe it either. So Zhanhun, next level play. And now we're going to, the series is tied 3-3. We're going into game 4. I thought for large portions of that match that Dewalt wasn't going to have a shot because he was getting, that Zhanhun didn't have a shot because he was economically behind. But just Turbine, I think he was just more prepared for this match, knew exactly what he needed to do. had all of those troops over the third, constantly obliterating it. And Dewalt's harassment worked against him. He went and harassed and cleared out all the main, cleared up. But then all of a sudden it was 3 mining bases versus none for Dewalt later in the match. And so Zhanhun with the tenacity, and I got to say bravo. I think that's got to be the PvP of the season right there. What a play by Zhanhun.
For sure. Cannon rush at the 10-minute mark. Contain the Protoss player. And it's not like he had any powerful units behind it. There was no Reavers. There's no DTs. There's no Templars. You sit there and you're like, well, dude, this guy has Reavers and Templars. Like, how do you ever win with pure goon? I mean, that's what it was. It was pure goon almost from Zhanhun. But just an overwhelming amount of them. And, wow, I can't believe that the goons even ranged the mineral line from the third base. I mean, that's nuts.
Turbine, I got to chalk that one up to Turbine, because if it was any other map, that wouldn't have been possible. But Zhanhun just showing that he was prepared. He knew what to do on that map. He's like, okay, I am behind economically. I'm going to box you out of your third, which is funny because that works like a normal PvP. It's your third base instead of your natural expansion that's getting boxed out. And I love that he also placed the pylon and also caught Dewalt's third. What I really would have loved to see out of Dewalt in that match was to elevate her troops more early to go ahead and establish that third base at the 1 o'clock position, because I think that would have won him the match. But instead, the relentless assault on Zhanhun's base, and now the series is tied up, and we're going into a game 7. Whoever wins advances, and whoever loses, they're gonna hopefully they'll have to come back and play for BSL14.
So we're gonna be going into game 7, and it all comes down to this. It's tied up 3-3. Absolutely bonker games, especially game 6. The cannon positioning just out of range of the Reavers on the ramp, drawing them just far out enough so the goons can have a great surround. And we're gonna risk it all on Metaverse. And we know that this is another wild map. I don't think we're gonna see a cannon rush on here, but we could see cannons behind the minerals, I guess, as a third base potentially. So let's find out who's going to be moving into the finals. Is it Dewalt or is it going to be Zhanhun? Okay, in the top right, it is Dewalt.
In the top left, as the blue Protoss, we have Zhanhun.
Oh my gosh, I'm so upset we haven't seen more Turbine games, man, because somebody pointed out, okay, this is the second game of Turbine, and we already get one of the most epic games I've ever seen in PvP. Like, I know people don't want to play it, but look at the epicness you can have.
Denied the epic. You know what's funny? Speaking of epic, like coming into this entire series, I actually was favoring Zhanhun to win it all, just because of particularly how impressive he looked against Bonnet. And here, he's impressed me by his ability to find his footing once again, because Dewalt really was convincing in game 1, game 2, just ran him over. But despite that, he kind of did the anime move where it's like throw the arms back, get the feet in the ground, and you just see the concrete starting to shift beneath his feet as he's like reestablishing position and taking it right back to Dewalt. And especially last match, he wants to go to this finals. He wants to prove that he is the best foreigner out there. And wow, I just got to say, I got chills. We're in game 7. We're on Metaverse. Anything can happen. Here, I got to go back to favoring Zhanhun again because this is Metaverse. It's a big macro map. So Dewalt's got to, I feel like it's back to Dewalt to prove something and win it, especially because there's been, there've been 3 games now. The 3 games that Zhanhun has won, Dewalt was at an early lead and he just couldn't close it out because Zhanhun just able to do what it takes, sneak back into it, and then just out macroing it.
Yeah, I think on any map where he's going to have high ground advantage at his nat, I would favor Zhanhun just simply because of how beastly he is in macro PvP. So this seems like the ideal map to finish the series on for him. We see that both players have gone for a single gate, cybernetics. Gateway for Zhanhun is in an interesting position way far back in his main. This is not good night where the ramp is to the right side. It's at the bottom, as you can see. So a big travel distance for him, and actually Dewalt, if he does go to top left, may end up mis-scouting potentially.
Looks like the probe trying to do a little bit of annoyance here, and that's going to delay things a little bit. I'm going to get John. So this is a big advantage for Zhanhun. actually, because he's got the opportunity to go for minor pylons. He's got the opportunity to do harassment. This is going to slow Dewalt down in the early game and get that little, like, bit-by-bit advantage. And Dewalt needs to be very, very careful. So now he has a Zealot. He needs to be very, very careful that he doesn't get mana pylon blocked. And yeah, he went for cross-position scout. Is he going to go for cross-position again? He checked the middle to make sure there wasn't 2-gate. But it looks like, yeah, he realized, okay, early probe scout in my base. I know it's at a close position, so nice readjustment from Dewalt to go ahead and get information in this bay. But he's going to be greeted by a Dragoon. And this might be a trade situation from the previous match where Zhanhun might have an opportunity to have an annoying probe in his base, where the Zealot's going ahead and blocking that ramp and denying Dewalt information.
Okay, well, I've seen this move before. Probe this time around, not going to try and engage that Zealot. And he is going to be denied. And now there's going to be no intel for Dewalt. So more than likely, he is just going to go into that Robo follow-up. And if I was Zhanhun here, I would think, okay, what beats 1-gate Robo? Because that's the most likely follow-up, and go with that.
Looks like, yeah, range upgrading. I'm excited to see it. This is, I do want to say there are shenanigans that can happen on Metaverse. And one thing I've seen out of Zhanhun time and time again, it looks like he's pressing forward just to see if Dewalt was going to move some troops forward to get some of that scouting information. I think he wanted to deny it. But time and time again, what I've seen Zhanhun do is move troops, sit them out towards like the lower side of the ramp, move the shuttle over the temple, and attack from there, and kind of do that same two-pronged thing that he's just done famously up to this stage to control matches. Basically, that's what has won him the matches versus Dewalt, is kind of that counter positioning back and forth. So Dewalt, let's see if he can get back into this. Right now, supplies are dead even. Information advantage on Zhanhun's favor. Dewalt looking to get aggressive, moving forward with those Dragoons, wants to, I think, get some scouting information. But here's the thing on Metaverse, the way those ramps are positioned forward, you can go ahead and deny it. It looks like the Dragoons engaging the Dragoons on the minimap right here.
Well, Dewalt's going to try and engage here, but honestly, every time we've had a small engagement like this, Zhanhun has reigned supreme. So Dewalt's going to just take a couple pot shots and back off. We do see that this is 2-gate Robo for Zhanhun. Meanwhile, I didn't catch what Dewalt's doing. I think it's just a single gate with support bay observer.
Yeah, it looks like single gate Robo Observer. I assume he's going to try to take an expansion. It looks like a shuttle being built initially for Zhanhun, so he wants to get aggressive. And Dewalt pressing his way up into the ramp, taking some misfire, and actually, oof, that was a big loss. Lost to Dragoon. He's losing, potentially going to lose the Zealot, and to lose that early is huge. And the probe gets the scout, sees the probe in position to go ahead and grab the natural expansion. I don't feel like Dewalt can feel safe taking that now, though.
No, he cannot. He just lost 2 goons, and now I think he has to build more gateways. If I was Zhanhun, though, I would just build my Nexus ASAP. He's just someone that macros so well in PvP. Why not? You know that this guy, there's no way he can take a Nexus. So that would be my move. And yeah, he goes into 3-gate and a shield battery. So you can see the devastating repercussions of just losing a couple goons and getting nothing in return.
Yeah, Dewalt playing a little bit overly aggressive and Zhanhun capitalizing on it. So interestingly enough, though, for the moment, Dewalt had the probe lead, but that's going to turn, I mean, honestly, that's going to turn right around. But Zhanhun, yeah, not opting to go for his natural expansion. Instead, looks like he wants to get Reavers out on the field.
Yep, he wants to go for the killing blow. He's out microed every single small engagement, like I said, so not a surprise here. And, you know, he doesn't necessarily have to attack into the main. He can just sit outside your base and just wait for you to come out, kind of like what he did on Turbine. He's going to have tech advantage.
I wonder if Dewalt's going to have the same sort of thing happen. So the Observer walking in, he's going to confirm the lack of natural expansion. How psychic was he to drop that shield battery? Because that shield battery is going to be huge in this defense. And right now, yeah, confirming that Zhanhun went for more of an aggressive opening posture and is moving out now. He got a good look at the troop counts, got a good look at everything. Zhanhun now dropping that natural expansion Nexus. Speed shuttle is being upgraded. This shuttle going to walk across, but I think basically Dewalt has complete eyes on everything. It's going to be up to him to defend. So now he's got to pull. It's ironic because now Dewalt's got to pull off a Zhanhun in this match.
Well, this is really a dire situation for Dewalt. It doesn't seem like a big lead for Zhanhun right now, but with map control and similar tech, it really is. I did notice that Dewalt has speed advantage, so if he can load up this Reaver while Zhanhun is out of position or not paying attention, maybe he can go for some counter damage. There's the first shuttle.
Yeah,
he needs to go ASAP.
Yeah, looks like he's going to load up Zealots, and he is going to go ASAP. And Zhanhun completely out of position. So walking up, is he going to make a shot at this ramp, though, is the next question. So he's got the Reaver to kind of press things up. He's definitely denied that natural expansion, but he doesn't have any troops in position to deal with that shuttle and with anything on the background, trying to pick off the Observer because he wants to deny information that there's no Reaver up on the high ground. And Zhanhun, oh man, this is going to be close. It looks like he senses it. So he has, but the Dragoon's just out of position to engage. It looks like the Zealot's going to be able to drop and preoccupy that. Now there's no Nexus, keep in mind, no second Nexus up. So a big disruption. And is it a dud? It is a dud. Second shot though, and those are a bunch of clump. And it's going to be a second dud. And wow, this is luck for Zhanhun, but now finally some probes getting killed. The shuttle getting taken out, so this Reaver is stuck at home base. A lot of troops coming back. Those two Dragoons being taken out. The Reaver's been taken out, but that was a lot of probe kills and a lot of economic disruption. Zhanhun immediately trying to mine at that natural expansion to try to stay in it, to catch up and hold that lead. Unfortunately for Dewalt, despite all of that, I still don't feel like he's definitely, upon losing that shuttle and losing that Reaver, I still don't think he's in a position to go ahead and grab his natural. But Zhanhun actually backing up and seceding it, so he's just going to let him have it.
I'm shocked that Zhanhun backed up there. As I was watching it unfold, I was like, oh my god, okay, he does a little bit of damage, but he's not able to get, I don't think he's going to be able to get his nat, because Zhanhun's just going to consistently sit here. But instead, Zhanhun backing up gives Dewalt a little breath of life. However, there's no shuttle with this Reaver, and we've seen this play out so many times. It's so hard for the player without the shuttle to make this work, but that's a massive hit from both sides. And remember, shuttle speed for Dewalt, he can easily escape. Meanwhile, no shuttle speed, and that Reaver is very far forward. It's gonna fall.
The Reaver's gone. Oh my god. And there was a huge clump of Dragoons. Those Dragoons were taking huge clumped hits from Dewalt's Reavers on that opposite side. So now, Zhanhun, he is up a Nexus. But Dewalt still has breathing room. He still has shuttle speed. And Dewalt, let's see if he can, with this turnaround, with the evening of the troop count, if he can kind of, so that's spotted, but he can still potentially go for those 1-2 counters at the natural and at the main.
Well, he does need to be careful because, like I said, every time we've had an engagement, well, in small skirmishes like this, Zhanhun has come out ahead. Reaver harassment into the main. It is not going to unload. It triggers an attack. No, it does not. It almost did, but instead Dewalt's going to back off and just try to get into the mid game. Right now, he's got a single worker lead. He's got about a 10 supply lead. He's got, I would say, even goon count, basically, even Reaver and shuttle count.
Wow, complete reset now. It looks like he's going to try to filter. So Zhanhun matching him, like Zhanhun's defenses have been fantastic. He's already got Dragoons in position to go ahead and engage. Let's see if Dewalt's going to be able to back off this time or if he's just going to dive in. Does drop the Reaver here. This feels so risky, in my opinion. The shuttle was focused. It's gone. That Reaver means it's going to be gone, which that's going to end this. And so Dewalt's going to have to settle at this stage. But Dewalt, he's got his natural expansion up. He's up 3 probes all of a sudden. And the game has reset. We are dead even now in the mid game.
Yeah, that felt like an overcommitment, though, and it's going to be, okay, well, maybe not. The Reaver count is still very similar. Dewalt not willing to take the engagement there. Still shuttle advantage right now for Zhanhun, but shuttle's going to be coming out pretty soon for Dewalt, and then we're going to have basically a reset game again. It's 89-89, 2-worker lead, actually even workers for both players, sitting at 37.
Dragoons getting a little bit feisty there. And Dewalt now holding up on that high ground, and this game is on a knife's edge, either direction. I don't know if either player, I don't think either player knows whether they're in the lead or not. Both players resetting, starting to macro up. Dewalt being a little bit more posture defensive at his natural expansion, trying to get the Reaver count back up. He's lost more Reavers than Zhanhun has comparatively. He does have those speed shuttles. That speed shuttle advantage is going to be negated shortly. And it looks like you have 2 Reavers. 3 Dragoons are there, but here's the thing. The defense from Zhanhun has been much better than the defense from Dewalt, in my opinion. And a lot of these Reaver engagements, and we've seen Zhanhun just execute better, moving troops in. Looks like the Observer going to walk forward. It sees the Dragoon positioning, so I don't think it wants to get a shot at it. And this is going to be hilarious. It's kind of like that meme. Okay, never mind. The shuttle moved out of position for a second there. I thought it was going to be shuttles seeing shuttles. And there's still plenty. It looks like, yeah, that attack troop for Zhanhun to go ahead and engage it. But right now, Dewalt, this feels like a bad engagement moving in the middle of the map. And might lose this shuttle while he's distracted.
He did. Oh my god, another shuttle down the train. And you just have to think, okay, like how many shuttles and Reavers is he going to lose before it triggers a counterattack from Zhanhun? Goon's moving into position, but Zhanhun makes sure to be careful and diligent with his shuttle and Reaver. He backs off once he sees those 4 goons. And now he's got a 10 supply lead. He even has a 5 worker lead. Oh no, goons are going to get bled off from Dewalt. Oh, he catches the shuttle though.
Oh, takes out the shuttle,
God.
takes out 2 Reavers, and now, man, this is so back and forth. This is unbelievable. Zhanhun's still doing what he does, though. Okay, yeah, he's losing some shuttles here and there. Dewalt, however, sacrificing shuttles in the midst of it. He's still ending up ahead in the overall macro count, just has more Dragoons. And honestly, it's still anybody's match. But right now, Zhanhun, I'm going to say, he's got that 7 probe lead. He's in a much better position to potentially take his 3rd. And Dewalt, he's just been sacrificing shuttles over and over again. I feel like that last shuttle loss was a little bit of bad luck because it happened right as he was engaging with the Dragoons moving up into midfield, and so he was half distracted, and so wasn't able to save that shuttle. It looks like, however, Zhanhun in the mid game has already opened up that back edge to go ahead and take down that power generator to take that protected 3rd base.
Well, it may come down to just unit composition now. Both players have a lot of zealots, a lot of goons. But Reaver count is pretty even. I see speed was also kicking in for both players. Does anybody have... Okay, it looks like Dewalt actually has more zealots than Zhanhun does. It was like 6 for Zhanhun. Meanwhile, maybe about 10 to 12 for Dewalt. It's coming in.
It sees the same Dragoon.
Oh, good escape. Is anything going to connect? He will get two probes. But he's got to be careful to get that Reaver out. Shuttle survives with 50 health.
And also critically, actually, the Zealots getting a little bit of damage done too, and it looks like they might be able to get a Dragoon kill. However, if things are equalizing a bit with that harassment, the probe count just about even. There's only a 10 supply difference, which isn't insurmountable, and I think Dewalt actually may be able to get that 3rd. However, that Zealot still looks like it was still doing work, finally cleaned up. And the Observer actually wandering in to go ahead and look at the probe saturation and see the rest of the base. I think that was necessary to sacrifice that Observer there just to see where the position was. But he sees that, he sees the Forge running, he sees the gateway count. And right now, actually, Dewalt, okay, so that was critical. So Zhanhun moves up. Let's see if he gets aggressive at this. And we might see a storm drop. This is crazy. So there's stuff happening all over the map. Dewalt's trying to take his 3rd. Zhanhun doesn't look like he's pressing to take it. Dewalt, in the meantime, going for another drop, wants to get some storms at some location, but needs to be careful because Zhanhun in a nice defensive slot across the entirety of this map, and he's just lost so many shuttles and so many expensive units in the midst of that.
Yeah, but this shuttle that's loaded up is Zealot and Templar. It's not Reaver. There's no chance of this dudding. He just needs to put it in the correct spot. Here he comes. He's decided that the natural is the way to go. Is the probe reaction going to be in time? There's so many probes right there. They all get pulled. And he loses about 15 probes this time around. That was a massive win for Dewalt.
And now it swings because Dewalt is up. But here we see the counterattack. Double shuttle moving in. And they have a lot of room. It looks like Dewalt reacting in time, trying to get in position to engage this. There's 4 Zealots in one of the shuttle. But the Dragoons are here. This could be the defining moment of the match. The shuttle's now backing up. And Zhanhun's completely out of position to pressure that 3rd base. So that 3rd base is coming up online for Dewalt. Zhanhun's just now dropping his 3rd. He's down a bunch of probes after that last drop. And Dewalt continuing. Oh, he's going to move up with this shuttle. It looks like he's taking some damage. Those Dragoons sneaking back actually might lose the shuttle, might lose these High Templar. That could be devastating. Dropping. Is he going to get the storm? Catches a few more probes in the midst of that. So with all of this harassment, with all these shuttles, he's sacrificing a lot. If he can defend now, he's in a great position to win the game.
He's got 1 more, but he's actually got 2 more available. Zhanhun doesn't realize he needs to just cast anything. He's gonna go for the Hail Mary. Oh my god, he's gonna connect onto so many probes, and that's a drop at bottom right. But I think Dewalt should be able to clean this up. The cannon is dealing with the Zealots. The 2 Reavers are still alive though, but now the Econ has been ransacked by Dewalt. It's 41 probes to just 29.
This is going to be difficult to clean up. And walking up the high ground, looks like the Zealots were taking care of it. Is he going to be able to get the Nexus out of this? Looks like he's pounding away at it. I don't see additional reinforcements. And that Nexus, it's looking pretty well damaged. And that actually could be, so that's not going to be a factor here. So, oh, Psystorm gets the shuttle and both Reavers. But this could be a factor here. That is weak. And Zhanhun is moving in. He knows he needs to go ahead and wipe out that 3rd base to get back in this match. Dewalt not reacting, so that army might be able to pick off that 3rd, which would give Zhanhun the advantage.
Yeah, but how do you attack into this? It's high ground. He has a Templar, but it's only 1. Zhanhun has done such a good job to consistently build up his probe count once he gets harassed. Now more Templars coming in, so this will be a little bit harder for Dewalt to deal with. But look at that single Templar. It already has 2 storms. available. He should consider trying to blanket. Oh, he sees the Templars. He wants it badly. He sends out a single storm, doesn't get that much damage done.
Yeah, keep in mind to attack, you actually have to take out that temple at that lower edge too, which takes a considerable amount of time and it's an extreme risk. So Zhanhun was hoping for it. It looks like he's going to load up some High Templar of his own, so he needs to get some blanketing Psy Storms. I'm wondering if Dewalt is, yeah, he's already fanning out the Dragoons right there to potentially engage. And he's got eyes, it looks like, somewhere near the third. So both players now going back in the defense, but Dewalt with a big lead here. He's got a lot of economy, so Zhanhun needs to get something done with these High Templar. It looks like this hasn't been scouted. Some Reavers moving across the map. Are the shuttle going to see each other? They're in the same sector, a single cell being dropped. You can just see both players on the map. They've got units like here and there absolutely everywhere to try to see this. But double Reavers, Dewalt not picking his foot up off the gas, looking to try to continue to harass at this third.
And now remember, just a moment ago, Zhanhun was at 29 workers. Now he's back up to 40, so he's done a good job to recover here. And supplies are very, very even. I don't know how he does it, but he always comes back whenever he gets down in terms of econ. Dewalt's setting up to take a potential fourth base. He's got his third base already up and running. No gas mining there, though. But look how strong that army is for Zhanhun. Multiple Archons being morphed too. No Archons just yet for Dewalt, and that is a triple DT single Templar drop coming in. Oh, this is suicide. There's so many Templars here. Oh,
drops, and it doesn't even get the Psy Storm off. That's huge. So loses, that's a huge amount of gas, a huge amount of High Templar that he might have wanted for an engagement moving into the mid game here, because this is when you need map control out in the match. That's the map. It does start playing more to Zhanhun's favor, I think, as far as his ability, because his unit control, as far as the big cohesive death ball of Protoss, he's been controlling that much better than Dewalt has up to this stage of the match. Both players have +2 weapons. It looks like a slight army advantage from Dewalt, but it looks like it's pretty spread out. Dewalt trying to grab his fourth. This is, I don't know that he needs to keep harassing here. He's moving out with a lot of these big, heavy units. His entire army isn't cohesive, where Zhanhun's army is completely cohesive in this top middle, and he's looking to engage. And this could be another big moment here, as Dewalt might get caught out of position, as Zhanhun has just a big army able to careen forward into Dewalt's scattered army. But a big drop at 9 o'clock, the Reaver dropping. Looks like he's trying to work on those cannons. One cannon down, second cannon, an empty Psy Storm in the midst of this, but he's cutting into Zhanhun's economy.
Well, you can see the idea there was to try and knock down the cannons. Another storm drop into the natural. Does not get that many Oh, that time around he gets a decent amount of probes. Now down to 28 again. And Dewalt realizes he's done crippling amounts of damage, but hasn't killed much of the army at all. So the army value for Zhanhun could actually be higher right now. So instead he's going to retreat back to his high ground. Does not want to attack into this and build up a fourth base and cannons.
Yeah, this is where he just needs to start flexing. He needs to bring in those units. He's catching some of the units as they're careening across the mid-map, getting cut off. Looks like he's storming his own zealots, but and a big, huge counter Psy Storm for Zhanhun, though, on the bulk of Dewalt's army right there. Some zealots peeking through, but that's in the exchange supply actually dead even between both these players. Dewalt, to win this match, he just needs to macro up and kind of bully forward and make sure his army stays completely cohesive. And I don't think looks like he's loading up for more harassment. He's done enough harassment, honestly. I think what he needs to focus on is just keeping that army together and making sure that Zhanhun doesn't win a big army engagement midfield.
Yeah, he still hasn't mined his third gas efficiently at mid-right. You can see there's only one probe there. But still, somehow, his army comp is amazing. He's got so many Templars, so many Goons, a lot of Archons, a lot of Reavers. Another double shuttle going to bottom right. Zhanhun may have caught some of this army out of position. A storm goes off to push them back. And Zhanhun must suspect that a fourth base is up because he's heading towards bottom right. Another storm hits a lot of the Protoss army of Zhanhun.
And it looks like some counter storms pretty nice, and the Archon advantage sizably in Zhanhun's favor. He's going to walk up into the natural expansion. Huge Psy Storms over Dewalt's army, and there's a bunch of Dragoons remaining idle in the back of Dewalt's base. However, some units having some trouble getting up that ramp, and it looks like there's the drop that's going to back Zhanhun out. So Dewalt, with the drop at the 9 o'clock, buying himself some room. He's off a bunch of supply and more Psy Storm. All of a sudden, Zhanhun is even mining. His natural expansions may be there. You have some cannons up at the fourth. Zhanhun's careening to go ahead and take that out. So he needs to wipe this base out immediately because he is down a base overall. Let's see if Dewalt goes for a counterattack. Looks like some zealots dropping might be able to wipe out that Nexus at the 3 o'clock base. But this is Zhanhun is all in. He needs to get it done with the troops he has on the ground because he's only got 14 probes to his name.
Yeah, he desperately has to save mid-left, and he has to go for a killing blow. Dewalt realizes his position now. He takes a 4th base at top middle, and he's just posturing to get into a good position. He wants to make sure he takes a favorable engagement. He knows still Zhanhun's army is massive. Another drop down to mid-left. There's no detection, so a DT could shut this down by itself. He unloads it, and it gets bugged out on the cannon. You gotta hit that thing, man.
Oh, the Zealots with a nice blockade surround to keep that alive. In the meantime, Dewalt moving across mid-map. Now, yeah, this is all he needs to do is use that superior army, use up a huge amount of supply, shut down what could be the additional mining base for Zhanhun, and I think that's done. The 9 is gone. What is now the new 3rd is getting wiped out. Dewalt has high ground, dropping some Psystorm. I think Zhanhun realizes he's all in. Huge Psystorms on that Dragoon army. It looks like the Archons blowing their way up. And let's see if there's additional Psystorms from Dewalt. He's got a lot of Dragoons behind this to punish this. He just needs to reinforce this point and continue pressing forward, and he will win this match.
It's just too much of an advantage for Protoss or for Dewalt, and those 5 Zealots at the bottom right not helping at all. Could have been the difference maker, because actually the army values are very similar. It was like 90 to 130 with a 30 worker difference. So those 5 Zealots, single Templar could have been the difference maker. Of course, Dewalt still has 3 bases running, so he has Econ behind it. But I think that was the only opportunity Zhanhun had to take this game. You can see his 3rd base. It's gone. Natural, basically mined out. He's at least got the 3rd base at this position, but you can put a Templar behind it and just storm it forever.
And it looks like he's just waiting for a High Templar along that side. And he's going to bully his way up towards this 3rd. He's not even bothering waiting for his units to get go. He's a huge shot from that Reaver, hitting a lot of those units as they're clumped up. And now he has that high ground over that edge. And actually now I just drop in Psystorm. It looks like that is what he's going to do. He's going to hit army. He's going to hit probes. He's going to hit absolutely everything. Oh, devastating. And honestly, if I was Zhanhun at this moment, this is when I would say GG. But this is, in fact, a finals match. This is to get to the finals. So I would expect him to fight it out to the last man.
Yep, this is going to be the last stand for Zhanhun. He has no eco behind this. He can't really build anything. He's got Templars. He needs to have the biggest storms I've ever seen. Luckily for him, the majority of the army is goons, so he could deal devastating amount of damage. But he has to do something. He can't sit here, because the longer he sits here, the more econ Dewalt gets and the more army he's going to get. He must fight right now. He's not going to win the fight, but this is his best option.
Yeah, it's his best option. You can see the desperate Dragoons trying to get it up there, trying to pick off the shuttle, eating a lot of Psystorm. And unfortunately now for Zhanhun, he's getting chased out of this position, and the Dragoons now going to work on the 1 mining base at Zhanhun. And that is most certainly going to be the moment where we see GG. It looks like Dewalt has done it. He's going to go to his 2nd final in a row, wants to have his 2nd championship. I think he won BSL3 last time. And in a great position, just moving up, making sure everything's empty up here with his High Templar, making sure that, all he has to do is scout around the map, make sure there wasn't a ninja expansion anywhere. And this is just a, frustrating situation now for Zhanhun. He's just going to try to, but I like what he's doing. He's staying in it. He's like, this is a championship. This is a finals. I'm going to fight it to the last man, just in case there's a miracle.
Yeah, and this is it. Unfortunately, our Chinese Protoss, he's going to fall right now to Dewalt. GG, one of the best PvP series I've ever seen. That includes ASL, OSL, whatever. This was absolutely amazing PvP, back and forth. Came down to the wire. Turbine and this Metaverse game might be the best BSL games we saw all season.
This I think is the best series of PvP I've ever seen. And these 2 guys really gave us, cheers to Zhanhun, because he gave us incredible matches. Incredible matches versus Dewalt. And now Dewalt advances to either face Zeke, who knocked him out who sent him to the losers bracket in the round of 16, or Mihu, who he faced in the finals last season. And he definitely wants to prove that he can beat Mihu, and that he is, in fact, the best foreigner right now. So I think we're going to move to a break here to see the intense match on the opposite side of the bracket. We're going to have Zeke versus Mihu, which I'm hoping is going to be just as intense, and I would not be surprised if it is.
Yeah, that should be another exciting matchup, but very congratulations to Walt. He played fantastic. Zhanhun, so close. I mean, amazing play from him all series long, but unfortunately, just barely not enough to make it into the finals. But of course, he'll still have his opportunity to get 3rd place versus whoever loses here, I mean, what a reward. Like, okay, you lost versus Dewalt, now you get to play either Zeke or Mihu. And the same thing for Dewalt, like, okay, you beat Zhanhun, now you get to play either the best Zerg in Europe or the best Terran in the foreign scene. So it is going to be an amazing grand final and third place match. But we're going into a break, and then we'll come back with another epic TVZ. It's going to be Mihu versus Zeke in the bottom side of the bracket.
I don't know if you know, but this